What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another installment of Honest and Uneducated, the show where we talk about anything from movies, movie news, video games, comic books, television, all sorts of fun stuff like that. Primarily today, we're going to get into lots. We got some Marvel TV news. We got Moon Knight casting. We got Mandalorian season 2 made its triumphant return. We're going to get into all that. We're going to do a spoiler review. That's the first warning right now. We are going to get into spoilers when discussing Mandalorian season 2, episode 1, but we're not going to get into that. We got a couple more topics we're going to cover first. But before we get into all that, guys, do not forget you can submit topics and questions to the show by emailing us at honestanduneducated@gmail.com. That's honestanduneducated@gmail.com. Now, joining me today is none other than Rick Metz himself. How you doing today, Rick?
Doing pretty good. Happy Halloween.
Yeah, happy Halloween, everybody. Hope everybody stayed safe. You know, as I know a lot of places around the world. I think California, they banned Halloween. But I don't think people were even allowed to do that. So
It's a bit extreme.
hopefully people went and got a bag of candy out for all their kids and everything. Elsewise, we also have Mr. John Knight himself. How you doing, John?
I'm good, man. How are you guys?
Good.
Doing good. We got
Hey, just real quick, I just wanted to say rest in peace to Sean Connery.
Oh yeah.
Found out this morning that we lost the first live action James Bond as well as numerous other roles. And just real quick, I just wanted to share my thoughts, because Sean Connery was a pretty big deal when I was growing up. Obviously, the James Bond series, but he was like just a major prolific actor. I mean, you think of all the different roles he played, and one of the things that always struck me about him was like it didn't matter what the movie was. If you saw his name attached to it, you had you could go into it with some confidence, knowing it was going to be a good movie. And
Sure.
there are very few actors, I think, that have that kind of trust that you can put in. I mean, even the best actors nowadays seem to have a stinker here or there. And for whatever reason, he was not only an excellent actor himself, but he picked excellent roles to be in, excellent movies to be part of. So James Bond to Indiana Jones' dad, to Entrapment. Just rest in peace, Sean Connery, and thanks for the many entertaining films over your career.
Yeah, absolutely.
For
He
sure.
was a little before my time, James Bond wise. I only saw a couple of his. I wasn't not like the biggest James Bond fan. You know what I mean? Like a lot
Same.
of people really love James Bond. I like all the James Bond movies, but like
They're not
I
bad.
could never win a James Bond trivia contest kind of
No.
thing. You know, I enjoy all the films, I watch them all, but like everyone has their definitive like favorite Bond, and like I just like them. Like I don't have a definitive one because like I don't have a huge attachment. You know what I mean? But obviously, yeah, rest in peace, Sean Connery. He's for many people he was and is the best James Bond, probably the best one there ever will be for a lot
He's
of people.
like,
So
yeah. I think a lot of people associate the role with John Connery, but
yeah, I think
rest in
without
peace.
him, James Bond wouldn't be as popular as it is now. Like
No, it
100%.
wouldn't. No,
Like,
Definitely
not
not.
at all.
no.
I mean, we
I
saw
think those movies, you could have easily become just kind of, I don't know, what cheesy B sci-fi type films. They always had the over the top villains and everything, and I
Mhm.
think he brought some real I don't know, some real class to him that maybe they otherwise would have lacked.
Yeah.
And, and so I definitely think you are right that he kind of cemented James Bond as a cinema stalwart, somebody that you always wanted to go see. So
Yeah, I mean, like, just to show how much of a badass Sean Connery was, the dude placed third in a Mr. Olympia contest. All
That's
right?
insane.
Yeah.
Like Sean Connery was a badass. All right, like he wasn't, and he was a great actor too. You know, so it's like on top of being a badass physical specimen, someone who is dedicated enough to become. And this is back when the Olympias didn't, steroids were as big as they are now.
Yeah.
So this is more of like a natural physique. But for someone to be able to do
He's
that,
jacked.
naturally, yeah, he's jacked, he's shredded, dude. It takes some dedication. It takes a lot of time and dedication.
He's got a great accent too.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, of course.
Sean Connery.
Exactly. So yeah, definitely rest in peace. So
Yeah.
everyone's at least got some good stuff to look back on. So that's always one of the kind of the blessings and of like it's obviously always bad when someone passes away, but at least when an artist of some kind does, at least you have a lot of stuff you can go back on and like
Legacy.
remember them a lot easier than just some random person. He's got a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
going
this
on,
this
so.
could actually lead to maybe a lot of young people that don't know him as well, maybe looking back and becoming acquainted with him and some
Yeah.
of his work.
Yeah, I think he of all people too would probably tell you to not watch League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. But like
Yeah.
that movie, like I just remember that movie.
Ironically, the last role he ever played, I believe, if I remember it
Yeah,
correctly, I don't
from
think
what
he
I
had
heard, that movie is what made him retire. Like
he
he
was
had
like,
such
"I'm
a
done."
yeah, he had such a bad experience making it or something. I don't know the whole story going into it, but I always heard that. So don't quote me on it, but we haven't seen him since. So I think there is some validity behind it. So
Yeah.
something went on with that set. So, but yeah, definitely rest in peace, Sean Connery, and hearts go out to his family. So, but anyways, let's get into this first topic here. And our first topic here today, boys, is we got our Moon Knight casting. And John and Rick, I don't know, I'm not the biggest Moon Knight fan, just like I'm not the biggest James Bond fan. So it's kind of in the same vein where I like it. I'm intrigued in the like concept behind Moon Knight, but I by no means am I like collecting all the runs of Moon Knight. You know what I mean? I think he's a cool character. I'm very excited to see him, on screen in some way. And the casting of Mr. Oscar Isaac here is incredible because I love Oscar Isaac as an actor.
For sure.
And I feel like if they're going to go, because there's been like a numerous amount of iterations of the Moon Knight character. And if they go with what I believe is the most recent one, where he's kind of a crazy person with just multiple personalities and what have you, I think Oscar Isaac will be perfect for that. So, like,
Mhm.
I'm super intrigued to see if, like, kind of what direction they're gonna go. I'm also kind of curious to see what they're gonna do with his suit because his suit is all white.
Well, that's what I knew him as.
Okay.
I don't know much about Moon Knight either, but I definitely know the look.
Yeah, and I mean, he essentially started out as like a glorified Batman ripoff, and he's since evolved over the years. And I think it's the most recent run that and it's going on. His most recent iteration, at least, is it's when the multiple personalities came into play, and
Yeah.
that has always intrigued me. I think that's a cool idea, and I don't know. So I'm looking forward to it. John, you're probably a little bit more well versed with Moon Knight. You got any thoughts on this?
Um, I haven't read any Moon Knight in a while. I read some of his older stuff, and um, Warren Ellis did a Moon Knight run that I read that was pretty good. But yeah, I'm excited for it. I'm really curious. Like you said, he was for a long time such a Batman knockoff, and they had to find a way to kind of differentiate himself and differentiate the character. But he's also kind of like a street level character. He's not, he's more like if they had announced this as part of the Netflix series of shows, if Netflix had continued to produce shows with Marvel characters and he was in that vein, then I would have been like, okay, yeah, I can see where this fits within that. So without them having moved Daredevil over into the MCU as well as Luke Cage and Jessica Jones and those in Iron Fist, um, I'm curious how they're going to work Moon Knight into it. If they're gonna make him more of a um, less of a street level character, or maybe they're just going to work that into the current MCU. So um, I'm curious how they're going to fit this character in.
Well, I feel like they have to have at least I would go out on a limb of some sort and say that casting someone with the stature of and the talent of an Oscar Isaac makes me think they have more plans for him outside of the Disney Plus series. Like I would initially think, you know what I mean? Because like not that there's anything wrong with the Disney Plus series, but every one that we've seen is um like WandaVision and Falcon and Winter Soldier, they're spin-offs, of the existing
Mhm.
characters. And then they are doing a Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel show, and then they're doing a She-Hulk show. But She-Hulk's also a derivative character. It's a new character or a new person in the MCU.
That'll
But
be
it,
interesting.
yeah, but it's also just a derivative character. So I find it is kind of an odd choice. But I was actually kind of taken aback when they announced they were going to do a Moon Knight show because he's not a very like huge popular character by any means. So it's definitely
Mhm.
intriguing for them to even just have like a show completely focused on him as opposed to him like I don't know, kind of like you were saying, if he would have popped up in a Daredevil series or something, that would have
Yeah.
fit really well. And so I feel like they must have some future plans for him, but at least casting someone, maybe not, but I don't know. I could just see. I think they're gonna have more for him to do. Like probably some MCU movie crossover stuff to some degree. So kind of where I'm
It's
at
it's
with it.
also it's also interesting that Disney is keeping him kind of attached to Disney properties. I mean, he was Poe in Star Wars for their run, and now they've shuffled him over to the MCU. So, um, and Marvel seems or Disney seems to be doing that. I feel like there's other actors that they're doing that with that they're keeping in house. Oh, the one that I just saw recently because I rewatched season one of The Mandalorian in preparation for season two. But I'm going to butcher her name.
Oh, Ming
Ming
Na.
Lei Ming Na. Yeah, she played on the Marvel's Agents of Shield show for a long time, and then they brought her over, and she was the bounty hunter that Mando went after, and in the episode you didn't care for of season one,
It's a terrible episode.
Mandalorian.
Yeah,
It's that's what we're gonna. We'll get into the
We'll get into
Mandalorian
it,
2 stuff
but yeah,
later. Yeah,
they're keeping those actors that they must have. They must have an appreciation for. Or what they're keeping them in house to a certain degree and moving them between properties.
yeah, for sure. And that was one thing too. I was always bummed out, man. Like they should have give him and Poe so much more to do. He was such like a cool character, and
Hmm.
he was supposed to be killed off in episode 7, and they ended up keeping him alive. And what for? When they didn't end up doing anything with him, it was kind
yeah,
of a
really.
waste. Like it's like I don't know. It's kind of bummed me out.
It's
So
kind of a fan favorite character though.
he
Oh,
was great, and that's why
Yeah.
he's a great actor, man. Like he was great in Ex Machina. He was great in. I can't wait to see him in Dune. Like
yeah,
Yep.
that'll be
hopefully that's
interesting.
good. So yeah, man, he's
Unrecognizable to me in Ex Machina. Like
right.
I
Yeah.
somebody told me that, like, "Oh, yeah, that was Poe." I was like, "No, it wasn't." So I went back and, looked it up and was like, "Oh, no, I'm an idiot. It
Yeah.
was."
He's also going to be with this casting as Moon Knight, joining the club of playing a second comic book character because he played Apocalypse in X Men Apocalypse.
True.
And
That's
then,
right.
so now he's going to be playing Moon Knight. So not only is he playing a second one, he's jumping camps from playing a villain to playing a hero, which is, I guess, I don't know, that's kind of a
Yeah.
interesting tidbit. So, but yeah, question is, guys, what do you think? Are you excited about the casting of Moon Knight and Oscar Isaac being cast as Moon Knight? Rather, because I'm pretty sure we all are. I love Oscar Isaac. Happy to see. I'm just at this point more intrigued and more curious of what where they're gonna go with the show. What are they gonna do with Moon Knight? Are they gonna change the suit? Because if they keep it white, it's gonna get real dirty. So I'm thinking maybe they'll go with like maybe they'll make it gray instead of white, or maybe they'll
Yeah,
go all
but
black. Like
you keep it white and he's as violent as he is in the comics, that blood, that red blood really pops. It creates quite a visual image when you see, when he gets into those
well,
knockdown, drag out
I was
fights.
actually I meant to bring that up too before we segue out of this. He's a lot kind of sometimes he's like very Deadpool like in the comics, right? A lot of times. So like I said, I haven't read a lot of them, but I've heard and seen a little bit of it. And I saw a couple panels where he was like almost breaking the fourth wall to some degrees at some point, and then also very violent and very sarcastic and like very Deadpool-y. So
Over the top violence is kind of one of his hallmarks, so I'm really curious how they're gonna fit that in within the MCU, if it's gonna come with any kind of, like, adult
yeah.
warning or adult rating for the show or something. If this is the MCU's way to branch out to maybe a little more mature content than they would typically do. Um, but yeah, there's definitely a very violent. I believe the last couple comic series that he's starred in were mature rated lines.
Yeah.
So um, yeah,
That's something I'm definitely curious to see what they're gonna do with it, just because I mean we've seen that you can make like they did the Deadpool PG-13 release, the Deadpool 2 one. I
Yep.
didn't watch it because I'd already seen the R-rated one, so I don't know why I'd want to watch a
Fred
neutered
Savage.
version. Yeah,
Fred
right.
Savage.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I never watched it, but I heard, like, it was decent, but it wasn't
Yeah,
at
it
the
was
same
good.
time, though, I don't wanna see a PG-13 Deadpool movie because we've
Yeah.
already had R-rated Deadpool movies, so, you know
Sure.
what I mean? Now, if they since they're gonna be introducing him, it was gonna have to be PG-13 because it's gonna be on Disney Plus. And they Disney explicitly wants Disney Plus, like, they market the thing to be family friendly, and they want like, that was their like, Bob Iger's whole thing with it was, like, Disney Plus needs to be a place where parents can let their kids turn it on and not have to worry about anything on there being, you know, too R-rated. Because if it's gonna be R-rated or anything, they put it on Hulu. That's why they put all their
Okay.
FX shows on Hulu, like, instead of bringing it into Disney Plus, because there's a ton of content that FX has that Disney could have just taken for themselves, but instead they combined all. That's what they're using Hulu for, which makes more sense. But it does worry me with situations like this, you know, because like
What's gonna
Moon
happen?
Knight being as violent as he is and everything, would it be better for them to just put it on FX, release it independently, you know, put it so it goes straight to Hulu or do it on FX like Legion or something, you know, like Legion was. Because like Legion ain't ever gonna pop up on Disney Plus. Like
Yeah.
Disney owns it, but it's on Hulu. So I don't know. Question is though, guys, again, what do you think about all this casting information and all this Moon Knight stuff coming out? Because I'm in the end, I'm excited for it. Worried about the suit color because it'll get dirty, like I was saying, and then also the R-rated PG-13 kind of thing. It has me a little bit worried because, like I said, with it being on Disney Plus, I mean, there's no way it's gonna be bloody, gory, and violent. So we'll just have to stay tuned and see what kind of direction they're gonna go. But just let us know what you guys think down in the comment section below. All right, guys. So our next topic here today is gonna be jumping over into the world of the DC universe, maybe the DCEU, maybe whatever they're gonna call this universe of DC content that they're gonna have on HBO Max. Because there's been this has not been substantiated by a lot of sources, but there have been some rumors going about, and some sources are showing online that are a lot of people's favorite Batman, who we know is going to be coming back in the upcoming Flash movie. Michael Keaton has supposedly signed on to star as Bruce Wayne in a Batman Beyond series with HBO Max. And like I said, this is the first site that was reporting on this, and I do take issue with some of it just because, like, if you go through the article, they go on to say that they've had 3 sources tell them that this is occurring, but they don't name any of the sources. So it's one of those things where I'm like, I don't know how valid this is. Not that they're lying, but I haven't seen anybody from like Deadline or Variety or any of the major trades actually reporting on this, and this is some pretty major news. So I would expect the major trades to actually be reporting on it if it were 100% true. So take everything here with a grain of salt. But like I kind of said, if this does happen, I'm super game for it because I've been saying that this is what the Warner Brothers and DC and everybody associated should be doing with a Batman Beyond series. I've been saying this for 10 years. Like,
You've wanted this series for a long time,
not
or
only have I
movie, or
wanted a
whatever.
flat out Batman Beyond movie, TV show, or something, they had a built-in cakewalk, easy way to get people on board with the idea of Batman Beyond by bringing back Michael Keaton to play Old Man Bruce. Like, it not only is it appealing to Batman Beyond fans just to have a Batman Beyond fan, but it appeals to Michael Keaton, Michael Keaton fans, Michael Keaton Batman fans, which there's just tons of them. You can go ask a ton of people today who their favorite Batman is, and even after Christian Bale and Ben Affleck, and we haven't seen Pattinson yet, but tons of people out there are still going to tell you that Michael Keaton's their favorite Batman. Like tons of people over
He's
Christian
like the
Bale, over
OG.
yeah. Some people out
That
there would say
yeah.
Kevin Conroy, but tons I know tons of people to this day who say Michael Keaton still.
That 89 Batman, the first Batman that he came out, that summer was just so. I mean, Keaton was everywhere. Batman was everywhere that summer, and I mean, I don't think there's anybody that was a teenager or older that was alive then that doesn't know Michael Keaton and Batman, doesn't have them tied synonymously in their head together for the rest of their lives. So yeah, he is so tied so tightly with that role that this just makes perfect sense.
Yeah, and that's why, like I even said too on the show before, go back and look with him showing up in the Flash movie as part of the multiverse. It's a perfect way for them to introduce Batman Beyond and present the idea of Batman Beyond. Just like a footnote, it could be a quick little thing where Flash is over there in his world, and they just show like that he's too old to like continue on doing it. Have a teaser where someone just quick line, someone says the name Terry, and then the kid just turns around. Just an easy thing, but they could easily set up the whole series just in the Flash movie by just showing how old Bruce is and like how he really shouldn't be doing it like anymore. He shouldn't be going out on the streets and being Batman just because he's getting too old for this shit, like Danny Glover would say. So I think like it's perfect. The only thing that I thought would like if HBO or WB wasn't gonna go this route with making Batman Beyond with Michael Keaton attached to it, the only other thing they could do is in 10 years have Ben Affleck come back to do it. That would be cool too. I'd be cool with either or, but I definitely would rather the Batman Beyond series happen sooner rather than later. And with him appearing in the Flash movie, like it lends a lot more credence to this being like much more of a possibility than it ever really has in the past, I would say. Because he asked me like 5 years ago if Michael Keaton would come back to play Batman in some way. Probably would have been unlikely. I don't think anybody like he's never really shown too much interest. Not that he's been like outspoken to not want to return, but never really showed too much interest in wanting to like return back to the world of Batman. I mean, he turned down doing the third one, so then Batman Forever. So like he was done with it. Something put behind him. But now when we live in a world where people at HBO Max are just convincing people to like return to roles because we got Ben Affleck coming back to play Batman now in the same Flash movie. I would have never, after the whole fiasco of the Snyderverse and Snyder Cut and like all these, Justice League and all, I would have never thought Ben Affleck would have came back and we'd ever see Ben Affleck as Batman again, but he's here. We got Jamie Foxx coming back to play Electro. These are interesting times. So this is not the most far-fetched thing, and like I said, the Jamie Foxx thing coming back, I feel like that's just opened the doors for like if Jamie Foxx can come back as Electro, anybody can come back to play anything. Like like Topher Grace might be playing Venom again, guys. Like anything could
You're gonna
happen.
see, yeah, you're gonna see Chris Evans show up in the next Fantastic Four movie as a Human Torch.
I
somehow.
wouldn't doubt it. Multiverse of Madness, dude. They could easily have it happen. Just a quick thing, there he is. Like
They need to let the Fantastic Four thing go. I don't think there's ever going to be a good Fantastic Four movie.
there could so easily be a good Fantastic Four is awesome.
I think it's cursed.
Well,
It's just me though.
no,
Marvel hasn't done it yet.
Yeah,
Fox did it
yeah.
twice, and
If Marvel
see.
does it, yeah.
Fox had their chance at it. The problem is you had people who didn't know anything about Fantastic Four making Fantastic Four movies. Like they tried to make the first ones came out in a time where like comic book movies did not get as much thought put into them as they do today. So like I can let the I think it was Tim Story did the first one and two. Like those ones, it was kind of a different time. It was not all comic book movies were being made just as efficiently as they are now, we'll say.
And I'll defend the first Fantastic Four movie. I mean, I
It's
know
not
it's not some
terrible.
great piece of cinema, but it's an entertaining movie. You can't tell me you
Fun.
don't want to sit there for 2 hours and watch Jessica Alba and Chris Evans and the guy from Nip Tuck and it's an entertaining movie. And Michael Chiklis, I mean, there's some good funny lines in it. There's some good action in it. It's nothing groundbreaking, but it's a fun movie, and it was, obviously in the hands of Marvel, it can be done smarter and better. But
Oh,
but I still think that movie gets unfairly crapped on when The second one was terrible because of what they did with Galactus and the diarrhea cloud. But you know,
Yeah.
but again, that the first one did well enough to warrant a sequel, and it had good actors, and it just wasn't as bad as history would have us believe. I think.
Yeah, I don't. I agree with you. I don't think that it's like I said. This is a different time. Like these comic book
Mhm.
movies and just movies in general. Like this was like a time when like the first Fast and Furious, second Fast and Furious movies came out. You know what I mean? Like early 2000s kind of time where like these big budget action movies they weren't taken very seriously, even like by the producers and everybody making them. They were always made with like, let's make a fun movie, big explosions, lots of comedy. No one really cares about the story or anything. It's just let's just make a fun movie for the whole family to see. That's kind of like how those movies. That's how the first two were. And I feel like with the second one, they tried to. I don't know what they were doing with that one. Silver
They didn't know
Surfer
what
and
they were
Galactus stuff, like they didn't know what the hell they were doing with all that. They should have just not even bothered with that one. And then Josh Trank with the Fan Four Stick, he was actually, it seemed like making a pretty damn good movie for a while, and there was a ton of behind the scenes stuff that's like been made perfectly like public with it, where like Fox just really fucked him over with that movie. Because like I would defend like at least the first act of Fan Four Stick was good, and it
Yeah,
all falls apart like halfway through, maybe like it's just all goes downhill.
the
But
end
like,
is so weird, like
oh, it
so
doesn't even,
random, and
yeah, none of it
yeah,
makes any sense. I don't know. Like, but I feel like Josh Trank was making a nice, like a cool, like I hate to say it because I don't really like when people describe movies like this, but like a grounded approach because it was more of it was like a sci-fi take on it. It was like a science fiction, not so much fantasy, but just a more grounded science fiction kind of like this is what could happen, and if it was a little bit more real, kind of set on its own. And like I liked where it was going at first, and they didn't stick the landing there. So I don't know why we got into talking about Fantastic Four, but I hope this Batman Beyond thing kicks off though, just because, like I said, the Michael Keaton, I feel like could just bring like I just feel like having him involved would just allow like people to get much more on board with Batman Beyond. You know,
Yeah.
like because I know like Batman Beyond kind of like I was saying before is like a derivative character. A lot of people is like to them like Bruce Wayne is Batman. Like, no one cares about Batman unless it's Bruce Wayne a lot of times. And I get that, but Batman Beyond's just cool, dude. There's a lot of potential for it, in my opinion. Like,
there's a difference when you have a Bruce Wayne that is around and should be Batman, and you decide not to have him in the role of Batman. Like
Yeah.
when they replace him with Azrael in the '90s comics, and
right.
it was like, okay, that's completely gimmick. Let's get Bruce back in the role. But the reason Batman Beyond works so well is you have this older guy who clearly just can't do it anymore. His body has taken 40 years of abuse and just can't hold up to the rigors of being Batman. And you have this story of this young kid who, you know, he's able to take under his, pun intended, wing, and bring up to and to continue that. It's a legacy character. It's not just a derivative. It's more of a legacy type thing. The passing of the mantle story that works so well in all of entertainment. So yeah, I'm looking forward. I hope that these reports are correct. I like you and suspect of them because you don't hear them from the major trades. Um, I don't know why DC wouldn't announce this, um, or Warner Brothers, whoever's handling these announcements. My only guess is, if for some reason they plan on spinning this series out of the Flashpoint movie, if there's going to be some sort of like scene in that movie which leads into the Batman Beyond series, like you said, like it may be at the scene wherever Michael Keaton's character Batman leaves off in Flashpoint, maybe the scene right when they cut from him is somebody says, "Hey Terry, how's it going?" or something, and that's supposed to get people hyped for the show. And the one other thing I wanted to mention is this seems like a no brainer deal for Michael Keaton. I mean, to play an
yeah.
older Bruce
Yeah.
Wayne, I mean, he's not going to have the physical rigors of staying in shape and being, in Batman shape. He's going to be able to sit behind a bank of computers and talk Terry through missions and have some pass on some sage advice. I would think as an actor, this would just be a great role to take and just have some fun with and not have to be as demanding as maybe other roles.
Oh yeah, and
Yeah.
dude, his personality fits Old Man Bruce like so well though
Oh,
too.
yeah, for sure.
When
The
Michael
dry,
Keaton,
sarcastic humor,
yeah, d-
he'll
he,
nail it.
he would be absolutely phenomenal as the old man. Because if you haven't seen Batman Beyond, anybody out there, Old Man Bruce is a very what's the best word to describe? I mean, he's kind of a dick. Like like
Grumpy old
yeah,
man.
he is a
Yeah.
grumpy ass old man. And he has the like kind of the purview and curse of being he was Batman, so he was the best of the best peak human specimen who knows everything about everything. So when like someone does something wrong, like Terry, like he just gets annoyed, and he's just always
Mhm.
just like so annoyed and just grumpy and just I don't know. I could just see Michael Keaton. Not that Michael Keaton's like that, but like in roles like he would absolutely knock it out of the park.
Yeah.
I would love to see him sitting there, and hopefully Ace makes an appearance too, because I could just see him like
That'd be
him
awesome.
chilling there with Ace, just talking shit to Terry all the time. And I feel like this Michael
Yeah.
Keaton would nail it. Dude. He would just nail it. So I too hope it's real. I've been wanting Batman Beyond in some way. I think now's the perfect time to do it too. Like I don't know, I could
Plus, you could the other thing that you could do with this, it opens up the world a world of opportunities for them. Can you imagine, like, they don't even have to show it. They could be flashbacks or whatever, but they can fill out that whole story between where Batman Returns ends off, and where that movie ends, and then where Batman Beyond picks up. And you could fill in all these teasers and these cool little hints back to what that Batman's career was like over the course of his life. You don't have to
yeah.
show it all, but you could name drop stuff like, oh, that time I fought Two Face, and
Yeah.
and reference Billy D. Williams. How you could have Billy D. Williams come back for a scene in Arkham where he's Two Face, and just because he never got to play that character in that
Yeah, he
series.
was only Harvey
Um,
Dent.
Yeah.
exactly, and then they gave him the shaft and moved Tommy Lee Jones into that role. But still, I mean, you could do cool things like that with this series. I just make me smile and it make me really excited for them, the
Yeah.
possibilities.
You
Yeah.
could definitely feed off of nostalgia with that move with Michael Keaton coming back like super hard, and in
Yeah.
a good way too. Because I'd never really considered it, but yeah, you could use the Batman Beyond show to go back and retell a ton of like stories in that universe. And this could be 30, 40 years worth of time that we technically we don't know what happened like for
Yeah.
with that Bruce and everything.
Yeah.
And that would be fun just to have, like, you could have these flashback scenes or him telling stories about all this stuff, and they could
Well, that would be a
yeah.
good part of the show if you just integrate all those flashbacks
Yeah.
and stories and all that into it, just showing that it's different than like the current show that's what's going on. It's
Right.
hard to explain.
I will say, if they do that, that would be awesome. I'm thinking it through in my head though as we're going along talking about it. I'd be very disappointed if they tied it that closely to the movies, because that would kind of eliminate the possibility that we ever get an adaptation of Batman Beyond: Return of the Joker, which
I was
is
gonna
one
say
of
that. I was gonna
is
say that.
yeah, it's that is one of my favorite. Just it doesn't matter if it's comic, movie, TV show, whatever. That's just one of my favorite Batman stories of all time, and if they found a way to do that live action, that would be incredible.
Yeah.
Um, it
Yeah,
might be
because
impossible, but
Jack's Joker dying kinda throws a wrench in that
exactly.
Yeah.
if that becomes a thing. But
Yeah.
you could always pigeon toe around that kind of stuff if they really wanted
There's
to.
ways
Like,
to, yeah.
like,
You could
'cause
have fun with it and
yeah.
not be, as whatever, as tied to it as maybe you might think they would. They could
Right.
play loose with the history there.
I mean, too, technically speaking, that's the same. The Burton verse is in the same timeline, technically, as Beyond or as Forever and Batman and Robin. So
Correct.
Arnie could come back. as Mr. Freeze.
Wishful
Think
thinking.
about that guy. We can.
Okay, you're going the wrong way with this.
Hey,
You're
Mr.
going the
Freeze
wrong way.
is alive in Batman Beyond, guys. Okay?
That would be
spoiler
chill.
alert.
Boy.
Yeah. That would be chill.
It's time to chill.
No, I would love to see him come. I love Arnie. He would probably never do. Actually, I bet Arnie would do it.
I hope
think
nobody
totally
from
would.
I hope nobody from WB watches this show because I don't want that idea even out there.
They're like, well, son of a bitch.
I'm just saying.
It's
Maybe
brilliant. What's he doing? He's not doing anything. Get him.
It's true. I could see him coming back though,
Oh,
dude.
man.
I wouldn't want that really to happen, but because I like it's a short like thing when it happens at Batman Beyond, but I did like the Mr. Freeze arc when he came back. Like that was cool.
Yeah,
Like it was
good.
it was a quick little one, but I was like, this is
Hey,
cool.
this
Like,
could be just as Jamie Foxx's Electro is his chance at redemption for playing that character. This could be Arnie's attempt or a chance at redemption for playing Mr. Freeze.
it's
So
true.
maybe it's not the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, I mean, I love Arnie. I would take Arnie anything. And I always took a line. I think about it all the time, and I've said it numerous times since one of his lines in Batman and Robin was when he was getting his suit back from like wherever they had it locked up at one point with Poison Ivy. He says, "Always buy a size smaller. It makes you look slimmer."
Yeah.
I don't know why, but that line has always stuck with me. And every time I'm looking at clothes, I'm looking for a smaller size, and I'm like, look for a smaller size. It'll make you look slimmer. So
sometimes that can backfire, though.
yeah, it definitely can. It definitely can. But anyways, guys, what do you guys all think about I'm sorry, I clicked on the wrong camera. I'm sorry. John, you could take notes. What do you guys think of Michael Keaton potentially coming back and playing, Batman or Bruce Wayne, I guess, in a Batman Beyond series on HBO Max? Are you for the idea, against the idea? I kind of think at this point anything can happen, and him coming back as to play Bruce Wayne in some capacity in the upcoming Flash movie, I feel like lends a little bit more credence, makes it a little bit more possible at the very least. So but let us know what you guys think about that down in the comment section below. Let us know if you're looking forward to it or if you think it's a bad idea altogether. Just let us know in the comment section below. All right, guys. So our next topic brings us into the world of Netflix and another video game adaptation, a live action video game adaptation, this time in the world of Assassin's Creed. So Ubisoft or Ubisoft, however they want to pronounce their name, has signed a deal with Netflix to bring a live action Assassin's Creed to development. And I think, for one, just off the top, I've always thought that Assassin's Creed, given that they really bombed with the movie, it always was poised for like kind of greatness in live action storytelling, in my opinion. I always thought the way the story was designed, it kind of lends itself just to being a live action, probably a TV series more so than a movie, just because with the use of they call the thing that lets you go back because there's like a device for it, and
Animus or
yeah,
something.
something along those lines. But using that tool to just for storytelling is like almost have limitless possibilities, like like a lot of you do a lot of cool things going because I could jump timelines all the time because that's the whole point is like if you're not familiar with Assassin's Creed for whatever reason, you have like the machine, I think it is called the Animus or whatever, and you can like when you use the machine, it lets you just go back and experience memories of your ancestor, right? And that's where in the games you're playing as the ancestor part. In the present day, you're just pretty much a dude laying down in a bed, like hooked up to the machine.
Yeah.
And I was always actually kind of bummed out because in the first game, at the very end of the story, like the very last mission, you're in like the real world, and like the game kind of ends that way afterward. And I was always like, oh dude, it's gonna be cool, like because as the game goes on you're gonna learn, or as maybe in Assassin's Creed 2 you learn more about what's going on in the future and like what's going on. And it's like I feel like ever since then they kind of just like threw away that storyline. I don't know, like I just you never really got any more out of it. But I can understand why, because the most compelling part is the stuff when you're back in time and doing all, and that's where you could just do so much stuff with it. You can like in the most recent game, they're doing like Vikings now, and it's like they've done like tons of stuff. They did Templars in the past, and like there's just so many different things you do go back, so many different time frames, and just I've always thought it would be a really great TV series because you could have a couple episode arcs being in one, time frame, then another couple episodes, you go to another one. You could hop around each and every like, you could do so much with it. I don't know, it's just poised for it in my opinion. So, like, I'm looking forward to this. I hope they do a good job with it. What do you guys think about, this series coming to Netflix? You guys got anything?
Eh,
I was waiting for
Quantum Leap,
somebody.
Quantum Leap with assassins. Yeah, I'm there. I'll
Yeah, I
watch it.
Yeah.
mean, it sounds
Awesome.
cool. Yeah.
I I don't know. I played the heck out of the first couple Assassin's Creed games. I really liked them, but just like you were talking about, Rob, the not picking up from that thread at the end of the first Assassin's Creed movie just kind of lost me. Like I played through that entire second game going, all right, they're going to pick this up somewhere. They're going to reference it somewhere. They're going to answer this somehow. And it never happened. And while the game was great and it was fun, I, I felt kind of betrayed.
I felt cheated.
Narrative, yeah, I felt cheated narratively, and I don't think I played the third one. I don't think I've gone back and played an Assassin's Creed movie or game since. Um, but that's more my own qualms with how they were doing the storytelling. The games themselves were fun, and the concept was super fun. So I think a show could really work well, and I'm excited to see how they adapt that and where they go with it. I mean, you could have it be so many different things. It could be a standalone show that follows a set cast of characters, or it can be more of a I'm not going to think of the word that I want, but a show that doesn't revolve around the same cast of characters, jumps from different characters to different characters and tells different stories.
Yeah, like I feel like they could set it up a lot of the ways, kind of like they did Altered Carbon. 'Cause it's a
Yeah,
very similar concept. Because like with Altered Carbon, they didn't really jump around too much. But I mean, in the first season, you had Joel Kinnaman playing Takechi, and then in the second season, you have Falcon. What's his name? The guy who
Anthony
played
Mackie.
Anthony
Anthony
Mackie
Mackie.
came in and played him because in Altered Carbon, kind of similarly, everyone's consciousness is essentially digitized. So you just put this little thing and then into like the bodies. The bodies are just all interchangeable essentially, and like you could kind of do the same thing with Assassin's Creed in a lot of ways because you go back, you got your one guy in present day using the Animus, and you can go tell a whole story about Vikings or Italian assassins or just something. There could be a
Yeah.
whole cool period
The
piece story you're
crusade
doing.
assassins during the Crusades,
Yeah,
assassins during, the Revolutionary War. So many different options there. So many
yeah,
historical anthology was the word I was thinking of or trying to think of.
yeah.
You,
Right.
you try and work it like an anthology series where you jump around to different points in history and different historical events that had this mysterious backstory you never knew.
hmm That's what I hope they explore, though, because like we kind of both have the qualm with maybe it was just people didn't care about the present day thing, but like I was always curious as to like I feel like I never had the question answered of just like what are they looking for? You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
always a MacGuffin that like the company's looking in your character's memories to like for something, right? The MacGuffin, but then you never really figure out exactly what it is.
Like why
I
he's going back or like what do you mean?
Yeah, because there's, like, something in present day that they're trying to do, and for whatever reason, they need to go back into this person's ancestors' memories to try to figure out pretty much, like, unlock a codex or a riddle,
Yeah,
but
that makes
you
sense.
never really find out, and, like, I'm kinda with you, John, I didn't play through all of them after this, so, like, maybe they did finally answer these questions, but, like, how they set that up initially really intrigued me, and I wanted to see more of it in both, present and past times in the gameplay, but it I feel like they just never answer the question. So I hope they set that stuff up a little bit, I don't know, better and follow through with it more. Kind of just like let people know who, what, when, where, and why the people are trying to use the animus to go back in your ancestors' memories to get X for X reason, as opposed to just
Look how cool this looks. Like,
yeah, exactly. Just
yeah,
like, oh look, we got
we're an
people doing
assassin.
parkour. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. That's
like
yeah. That doesn't.
'cause I mean, all that's fun, and it's fun to play in that world and, like, the game and everything. I just hope they set it up, in the show a little bit better, and,
Give it
'cause
some purpose. Like,
Yeah, because it was set up really good in the first one, but you never found out why. Like, it was all set
Mhm.
up good, and
but
they
you
just
got to
never.
do some cool parkour in the meantime.
You did,
Got
like,
to kill some
it's
people.
fun to play, so I hope they nailed, like, the visual. Because I mean, even in the movie, like, all the stuff they did in the past, like, a lot of that it had its moments, like, when they did the stuff that was going on in the past, so as long as they, they keep a good flavor with that and keep things interesting and tell a good story, I think it'll be cool. Like, like I said,
I'm
definitely think it's poised for it, so.
there's part of me that with it being such a big concept and having so many things open to it, I really hope that they have an idea of how long the series would last and what the overall story arc that they want to tell is. Because with it being such a mystery based game or a game like we were talking, like why are they doing this in present day? If they do that in the series and it's a Netflix series and Netflix pulls the carpet out from under you after that first or second season, just like they
Mhm.
did with Altered Carbon and some of their other shows, that would be very frustrating for me. So I would get burned twice by this series.
Yeah.
So I'm a little apprehensive because it's going to be on Netflix for those reasons. I think it could be very cool, but I hope that Netflix gives it the commitment that it would need to see these if they do go the mystery route to see those played through, played out.
That's why they if they do, because yeah, I totally agree with that because, I mean, they had that show, I think it was called Away with Hilary Swank. It just canceled it after 1 season, and, like,
Yeah.
obviously, it ends with, like, a cliffhanger of sorts, and it's always annoying when they do that, and especially with given how the game story was and how it was kinda designed around that, that's one of the
Hmm.
reasons I really hope they clearly set up that's what the anthology series, like you were kinda saying, would probably work better and kind of alleviate that in some capacity because you could set it up first season and then maybe have an overarching, like, plot that they can continue on in modern day, like,
Sure.
through the next season if they want, but as long as they, like, at least bring like, Supernatural does a good job at this, like, they have your big overarching plot that happens in your whole, season, and they always bring it to a close and set up what could happen in the next season. They don't dangle a thread and, like, build up the next season's worth of content within the first season. They introduce what could be going forward, and that's if they
Hmm.
do it well, like, kinda like Supernatural does it with this, then I think it'll work fine. I don't want 'em to set up this big, like you said, like a 3-season plan for a show, especially on Netflix when, like, they could just pull it off and even hell, I always remember, with the Swamp Thing show on DC Universe, they
Oh God.
canceled
Yeah.
it before the first episode even came out. And
That's
it's like,
Yeah.
"Well, why am
ridiculous.
I even gonna watch it now?"
Yeah.
And I literally
Yeah.
never even watched it because I was like, "Well, they canceled it.
So what's
Why
the
I don't
point?
yeah, I don't
And
wanna watch it now."
it's supposed
Like,
to be an excellent show too. I mean, like, I don't
yeah, I heard good
Why was it
that
decent
was
canceled?
things.
such a
Just
weird I'm gonna watch it at some point. I actually do have a little bit of hope if it is as good as people said that maybe HBO Max will revive it. It's only been dead for about a year. I feel like they could get the actors and crew back, but, I
Yeah, I
don't know,
don't
I might just be I also heard it was gonna be airing on, CW maybe or somewhere, I think,
I think
they're
they
gonna
said they
be
were gonna
airing.
yeah, CW or Sci-Fi or something because I know they had a
Maybe
deal with
that'll give
Sci-Fi
it
too.
Yeah, maybe that'll give it another but anyway, that's besides the point. It's just but yeah, like these streaming services, it's hard to trust them with long overarching narratives. If you can't get your story done in a year, you're really risking, pissing some people off.
Right. Well, hopefully, because that's like the downside is with at least how Netflix likes to operate. Like everything is based on like whatever analytics they use because they play it kind of fast and loose with their analytics. Because there's a lot of shows that are like I hear a lot of people always talking about, but like the show will still get canceled, or
Yeah.
like I've never even heard of a show that someone's telling me about, because like I don't know. And then like at one point in time, I remember that they count like a view of like the movie or show or whatever is literally you watching it for just like it was a very short period
5
of time.
minutes, 10
Yeah,
minutes,
a
something like
very
that,
short
yeah.
period of time. Like you could watch it would be a 2.5 hour movie, but if you had it on for 5 minutes, like autoplay kicked in and you didn't realize it started playing, they're gonna count it as a view. Like it's super weird. It's like 3 minutes or something. And but a lot of the times, like with The Witcher, it like popped off and they announced season two before it was like the same week that Witcher 1 came out. They were like, well, we're gonna do a second one. Like, okay, well then hopefully this one's at least around that same boat where they, because The Witcher would kind of do the same thing. It would have been really shitty if it got canceled the way The Witcher season one ended. So hopefully it's a good show, and I feel like I'm always worried because a lot of these things that are like super popular don't always translate well into like everyone thought like Pokemon Detective Pikachu was going to be like the biggest movie ever because it's Pokemon and Pokemon's like the most successful like franchise ever when it comes to like economics or something. If there's some statistic where Pokemon's like the
I can
number
see
one
that.
longest lasting thing or whatever, and it's like that movie only made a couple. It was successful, but it's not like everybody and their mom who has ever seen, watched, or played Pokemon went to see that movie. It still only as a movie only appeals to a certain amount of people. So like I'm hoping
Mhm.
that they just make a very good show and just focus on making a really good, clean show because I feel like if they do good with it, it has a lot of potential to potentially last 3, 4, 5, 6 seasons, which would be weird for Netflix because they normally do three and done. I think Stranger Things is its longest lasting franchise like on Netflix, and it's going to be its fourth season, and then it's over, right? Or is it?
Yeah.
Or they're going five? Most recent one was
I
four. I forget. I know Stranger Things is like their longest running thing, but I mean, again, like Lucifer, it popped off. They brought it back to do a 10 episode revival, and then they ended up
yeah.
pumping out another 2 seasons out of it. Like,
Yep.
Cool.
yeah, so which is great because Lucifer is great. Go watch Lucifer. So in the end, though, guys, what do you think about Netflix getting the rights and making this live action TV series? Oh yeah, before I forget, just a note too. Not only are they doing this live action TV series, they're making an animated movie and an anime series based on this, based on Assassin's Creed, all on Netflix. So they're going hard on the Assassin's Creed brand within Netflix with this overall deal. So that gives me some hope that if they do set up some multiple season story that they have it kind of locked in to with this Ubisoft contract to where like they at least get like that they get to finish that run kind of thing because like it would definitely be annoying if any of these things started left on cliffhangers and got canceled. So, but with that, guys, what do you think about all this stuff with Assassin's Creed coming to Netflix? Let us know down in the comment section below. All right, guys. So our penultimate topic here before we get into our spoiler review of the Mandalorian season 2, episode 1, is about what's actually going to be jumping back into the world of DC. We had a quick little story here came up, and I thought some interesting things. I just wanted to kind of go over with the boys here. James Gunn did an interview recently about the Suicide Squad, where he was essentially given free reins on just killing anybody. Essentially, anybody. The Warner Brothers told him that he was allowed to kill anybody he wanted, and someone asked him at one point, "Man, right here remarked Harley Quinn and blah blah," and he said, "No, like I could have killed him if I wanted to." So I thought that was kind of interesting. Like, not earth-shattering news, but I feel like if James Gunn, if in my mind, if I'm Warner Brothers and James Gunn came to me with a script that had him killing off someone like a Harley Quinn, I'd be like, "Well, dude, we said you could kill anybody you wanted, but like
But
not
not Harley
not
Quinn.
Harley Quinn. Like we can't. Yeah, I don't think anyone's gonna kill off Margot Robbie. Like, so I don't really think Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn is someone that's gonna die, but it's interesting because it's like, did they not have any plans for these? This is like what kind of worries me with it is like, did they not have any plans for any of these characters because they just did a solo movie with Harley Quinn? They had these plans in the past, which has been rumored to be maybe coming back at some point to do a Harley and Joker movie, and I don't know. It does seem kind of odd to me that they would essentially let him have full control in that aspect. Because like, at Marvel, this would never happen. Like Kevin Feige has plans for all of his characters, right? He would be like, you can do whatever you want with X, 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 and X, but you can't do this because we're gonna do that over here in like 5 years. You know what I mean? Like that's how Marvel operates and Kevin Feige operates. And it does kind of worry me that DC doesn't have something like that in play, even like now at this point in time, to where any of these existing characters or new characters that James Gunn was able to either introduce or bring back into the first Suicide Squad, did they just not have any plans for them at all going forward? You know, like that's the only thing that kind of worries me about it. Otherwise, I think it's like cool that they were giving them. It definitely is going to keep people on their toes, I guess, watching watching Suicide Squad too, because like I mean, we know now, like hell, anybody could die. Like,
But will they? That's the question. I mean, like that's a big. I feel like that's a big thing to come out with, but like, I mean, I don't know. That it just like they can say like, "Oh, he can kill anybody," but at the same time, it's like, will he?
I mean,
Do you-
There's obviously characters that are gonna die, and there's obviously like I call them. I hate to say it, like kind of throwaway characters that are just in there for filler, but
I mean, the whole cast of Suicide Squad is supposed to be throwaway characters. It's kind of the whole
yeah,
point.
they're the Suicide Squad.
But I don't know. I it mainly worries me as a back end kind of thing that like it just says to me that like they don't have future plans. And not as that is necessarily a bad thing, like for like because yeah, maybe they don't need a plan for a Harley Quinn movie in the future or whatever. Like, but it's just an odd thing. It's kind of an odd thing.
It is odd when you look at something like the Marvel Cinematic Universe and how well and how meticulously that is constructed. Um, but you also look back at when James Gunn came aboard this project and when he started talking with Warner Brothers about doing this project. I mean, he this all started on the heels of the first Suicide Squad. Can't say that Suicide Squad movie coming out and not doing the business that they thought it would. It still made money, but it didn't do the business the cinematic box office that I think they were anticipating or wanted it to. It was critically panned. I mean, I can't remember a single good review that was put out there about it. You're also on the heels of Justice League being incredibly disappointing. So, and I believe around that time, Warner Brothers restructured much of their entertainment division. So you're in a time of real flux. I'm not surprised that Warner Brothers didn't have a lot of plans. And I'm not surprised that they don't have a lot of plans now. I think Warner Brothers has been chasing Marvel for the past decade, and
True.
they've been trying to get their version of the Marvel Cinematic Universe going, and they thought they had it with Zack Snyder, and then things didn't go as well as they wanted, and they tried to stop and shift course, but like the Titanic, that didn't really work. And so, we're kind of left in this real limbo state with them, and to the point where now, there's a lot of talk and rumors coming out that DC doesn't have a cinematic universe anymore. That they are more focused on trying to do these one-off movies like Joker and things of that nature. So I agree that I think when you've got a bankable star like Margot Robbie, you would think that there would be plans in the works down the road. But maybe their feeling with this movie was, hey, look, at the time we're scrapping the cinematic universe. The Justice League movie killed it, or it's dead. And if you want to kill Harley Quinn off, you go ahead and kill Harley Quinn off. If we want Margot Robbie to come back, we'll do it. We'll bring her back as Harley Quinn in a movie like Joker or something that is completely removed from anything that came before. And we'll just tell the audience, hey, it's the same actors, but it's a different thing. So I
Right.
don't know.
Which that's the only thing that really would make sense to me at that point because right when Justice League was coming out, the main reason that it kind of went to shit in a lot of ways, well, one of the big reasons was because the AT&T merger was happening at that time. So there was a huge shift in just Warner Brothers, just corporate ladder in general. So like they had to rush all the Justice League stuff notoriously just so a lot of these people could get their bonuses by the end of the year before the merger happened. That's one of the huge reasons why Justice League turned out to be the crapshoot it was because it didn't get delayed, into the following year because they needed it to come out so that they could all get their bonuses in that year because they may not have jobs come year, and whatnot. But that like with like like they could always go, I guess, the multiverse route with it too. Like is it like during DC fandom and everything, and then given like Walter Hamada seems to definitely want to be embracing and following the just like let's make a good movie kind of aspect of it. But it's almost like there are some sort of like mixed signals with it though, because like they're doing this, focusing on making like solo movies to some degree, right? Like, and they've said that like we're just gonna make solo movies and focus on doing making a good movie, whatever. But then you still have these characters who like are connected and they keep doing things with them. Like Harley Quinn just had her own Harley Quinn Birds of Prey movie connected to the Snyderverse because Ben Affleck was in there, Joker, like it's all connected. Then they're doing the Snyder cut now, and they're even letting him come in and add Jared Leto's Joker and add Joe Manganiello's Deathstroke to it. It's like so they're bringing characters back and like connecting it even further. But then they're also making the movies that are like Joker that have zero connection, and they're like Robert Pattinson's Batman zero connection, supposedly. Like,
Yeah.
Well, and then you've got you've got these theories or these rumors that Ben Affleck is going to have a Batman series on HBO Max, and
right.
I mean, I feel like DC is just they're just taking whatever ideas that they think are good and going to roll with them, and they don't care how it's connected at this point. I feel like they're like, we'll figure it out later. This is a very
Yeah.
fly by night. This is just
That is
we'll
what
figure
it
it out
feels
later.
like. That is definitely what it feels like. And I mean, I like that they are taking that approach to some degree because they should just focus like James Gunn's hashtag here, like story reigns supreme, right? I was like, it's true. I'd much rather these people focus on just making a good story and telling a good story. But I don't want them to tell a good story at the expense of destroying, what could come in the future. You know what I mean? Like, like, yeah, you could have a cool shock value if like Harley Quinn dies, but it's like, okay, if they had plans to make a Harley and Joker movie, now it's just kind of like, if you're gonna just fake death people, then you lose all the stakes that you're adding by being able to kill them off. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for
Because
sure.
if they kill Harley off, like, oh, that's shocking, but then she just comes back in another movie
That'd be kind of a
anyway.
cop out. Like it's
Yeah,
just
it's the same thing as time travel and Loki dying 500 times. Like it's like when it happens, you're just like, okay, it's a comic book thing. He's already been back multiple. They'll probably be back anyway. So I mean, a lot of the stakes aren't even there anymore. Like with a lot of
I
these things.
I think with DC too, I think one of the things that, and you touched upon it, is the AT&T merger. I think these big corporate mergers have much more of an effect on these productions and these stories than we would hope they would, and more than maybe even we think they do. Especially in this case, because you have AT&T, which is a telecommunications giant, acquiring an entertainment company. When Disney bought Marvel and when Disney bought Star Wars, it made a little there was more synergy there. You had an entertainment company buying two entertainment companies, buying two entertainment brands. So you had people who knew how to work with story and work with movie productions and television productions. You had all the same. They were all speaking the same language, and so the transitions into there were probably easier to a certain extent. AT&T, a telecommunication I can't speak. A
yeah,
Telecommunications.
yeah,
telecommunications. They're a
yeah.
telecommunications, brand new company. Telecommunications giant acquiring an entertainment company. I mean, you've got people in roles at the heads of AT&T that have no background in
Yeah.
entertainment or movies. And so, they're doing, I'm sure a lot of theirs is coming down to analytics. It's coming down to test marketing. It's coming down to reports from bean counters. And so you're the creative, maybe the creative nuances that you would have in like a Marvel Disney situation just aren't there. And I think it really hurts. And I think it's shown that it hurts with how disjointed everything with DC has been lately.
Yeah. No, I agree, and that's where, like, someone like Kevin Feige comes into play, which, like,
Yeah.
they don't really have never really had, definitely not to the level of Kevin Feige, because Kevin Feige's just a fan like us. You know what I mean? He's just lucky enough to where he was in a position and put in the time, for years. He worked in, like he was just a set I forget what he did, but he was just, he worked on the set of, like, the original X-Men movies and everything. You know what I mean? Like, he's been in the business and attached to this, the comic book movies for many years prior to, being the head of Marvel like he is now. But, like, DC has never had that person who,
Hmm.
like, at least Warner Brothers DC has never had that person there to just, like, shepherd everything in and, like and not that everything needs to be connected, but, like, they tried to connect it, though. Like, that's kind of the problem is, like, they set it all up and tried to connect it in a very disjointed and janky way just by, like, "Well, let's just do it because, we can." So they did it.
Yeah.
And, like, that's, like, where it's just kind of it gets murky now, like, at least it could be, just because, like, they do seem to be trying to distance themselves from, like, doing the shared connected universe stuff, with the caveat of still doing stuff with those characters, which is just where, in my opinion, is when it gets kinda, like, murky, because like, yeah, they
Hmm.
did I brought up before, like, they used, in, like, the Aquaman movie, it was, for all intents and purposes, a completely standalone movie. They make one short reference to him fighting Steppenwolf, and aside from that, it was a standalone movie. At the same time, he was in Justice League, so it's like
Yeah.
you still can't it just makes it more difficult, and this is where, like, one of the kind of the problems with having a shared cinematic universe is, like, you can't have Aquaman go out and just destroy all of New York or Metropolis or something, like, something crazy, because that would obviously have to affect the other like, the other character somehow, you know what I mean? Like, and that's just kinda, like, how I feel about this, James Gunn being able to kill anybody he wanted. It's like, yeah, but they gotta think about something. Like, there's gotta be some thought going into keeping some of these. I mean, we got the
Yeah,
character of what's his name? John Cena's character is he actually is getting
His own
his
series.
own series,
yeah,
like, which it could be a prequel, so he could still
that's what
die
you
in
were
it.
saying. The
But
prequel.
I mean, at the same time, it's like they obviously have plans. It just again, it gets kind of murky when they're wanting to do all these separate things and like make standalone stuff. But we still want to keep doing stuff with Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. It's like we still want to do stuff with Jason Momoa and like Ben Affleck and like this gets confusing. Like figure it out, get it all done. Let's not like I like the idea that people can die at any point in time, but I also don't want just everybody to go die willy nilly.
No,
Like you don't want to lose
Yeah.
out on some stuff. Like it's just interesting.
just having to kill for the sake of killing them, or
Yeah. Like I said again, I don't want it to become fake death stuff because if I,
Yeah.
I guarantee you, if they were to kill like Harley Quinn off, for instance, like she'd be back.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
Like
for
she
sure.
would be back later, and so it just completely defeats the purpose of even going for that gut punch of losing Harley Quinn because like she's gonna be back. It's like when Peter Parker disintegrates in Infinity War at the end. It's like you knew he was coming back.
Oh yeah, for
Like
sure.
it's like good scene, sure, but like you know he's gonna come back. So like, does it really help anything narratively? Not really. Like I mean, narratively, yes, but for the audience member, no. Like he's back. Black Panther is coming back. You know what I mean? Like it's fine.
Is there anybody else in the Suicide Squad cast besides Margot Robbie, besides Harley Quinn, that you would have been shocked to hear? Like if it comes out and they die, that you'll be shocked that they died or that they got killed off.
No,
I mean, the
surprise.
only go ahead.
I was gonna say surprisingly no, because I think it depends on because there's a lot of new cast members in this one, right?
Sure.
And I think depending on how good those characters are, like if because I feel like King Shark is gonna be awesome because he has a
Yeah.
lot of potential to be awesome, and they've been like doing a good job with King Shark character in the Harley Quinn animated series.
Mhm.
So if they were to like if King Shark comes on screen and is like a Drax kind of character, like
Like
someone
steals
who
the
just
show.
like steals the show, and they decide to kill him off, that'd be kind of dumb. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Like and like so like given the cast of the people who is coming back for Suicide Squad 2, I could see him killing any of them and it not really matter aside from Harley Quinn, because like Captain Boomerang, like who cares? Like in all
Yeah,
honesty, like who cares? And then Joel Kinnaman's character, Rick Flag.
Rick Flag. Yep.
Love Joel Kinnaman, but who cares about Rick
But
Flag?
what about Polka Dot Man?
Polka Dot Man's probably one of those who's gonna steal the damn
That's what
show,
I'm
and
saying.
he'll
Like,
probably die. Like, I mean, that's where
Yeah.
it's like, again, kind of a bummer because if you have someone that is like, you want them to be able to come back because if they, that's like the risky part of it. That's why, like in the first one, they only killed off Slipknot because, and they didn't set him up with anything. Like they made it where you didn't give a shit that Slipknot died in that movie,
Yeah.
like, which is like kind of a blessing and a curse, right? Because like everyone who like
You want if you're gonna you have somebody die, you want it to have some weight, and his had none. It was just like, okay, we killed. It
yeah,
was his. He was simply there to prove that they would kill them by blowing up the bomb in their head,
that's it.
and it was a plot device. It wasn't even a character.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he was not of all of them. He had like, if I remember correctly, no cool like intro thing or anything
no,
backstory given to him at all. He was just kind of there, and
yeah,
you're right. He served his purpose just by showing everyone else that they had bombs in their head.
yeah.
That was why he was there. Like that was it. Like it's just dumb. So like that's the
In
only
my
thing.
in my hierarchy of unkillable characters from Suicide Squad, I think Harley Quinn was right there at the top. Next, I would say would be Amanda Waller.
Yeah, those are the
And
only two.
I think just because Amanda Waller ties into the government aspect of the DCEU and they can branch her out into so many other stories. Plus, Viola Davis is a pretty
Yeah,
well known actress, and
yeah.
I think she brings
bring
some
some weight.
average viewer knowledge of who she is. So she brings some eyeballs to the show. So those two would be the two in my hierarchy that I think would be. But even Amanda Waller, I think they could get away with killing easier than Harley Quinn. But
Yeah,
I
definitely could.
I wouldn't be surprised if they kill off anybody. I mean,
I wouldn't be
when
surprised like, literally, those are the only 2 that I would say you can't kill. Like, literally, it's just those 2. Anyone
right,
else, though, it just comes down to, like, how good of a character they were in this movie, you know? Because like, Boomerang had some fun stuff in the first one, but nothing to where, like, you're not gonna see a solo Boomerang movie. Like,
No.
it's not
yeah,
gonna happen. So it's like, yeah, you could kill him off and, like, you're not really gonna lose anything out of that. You kill off Amanda Waller and Harley Quinn, you're kind of losing stuff in the future in some way, like potential. You're losing potential because, like, you could have another Suicide Squad movie with a lot more Amanda Waller in it with Viola Davis, and like Davis can carry a movie by herself.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
she, like you don't want to like lose, like it'd just be throwing away money. Like realistically, she may not be like bringing in a bunch of billions of dollars, just like, but she's a phenomenal actress, and she has a huge fan base, and she's just a talent that you'd want to be able to keep around. So it would just make no point. And like the same could be said for a lot of the other cast members, but like I mean, they got Nathan Fillion, Joel Kinnaman, like they got a bunch of great people in there, but yeah, I don't think any of the other characters aside from like Harley Quinn and Amanda Waller have any like real potential of being an essential character in upcoming movies like those 2 would, you know? So like that's why it's like in one way kind of just like, well, no shit, you could kill any of them, my dude, because no one cares about any of them other
Yeah.
than Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
So like, and it's like we know you're not gonna kill Harley Quinn, dude. Like, there's like
the
no
the
way.
big the big question becomes is if this movie hits as well as I hope and I think it will. Are they is everybody still going to be unkillable for the inevitable sequel?
Yeah.
I can't talk for some reason. Is this still going to be? Is everybody going to be up for being killed in the sequel that they try and bring him back for?
Yeah, and that kind of goes into my point with like it. A lot of it comes down to like how good these characters are. Because if you have someone like King Shark ends up being
Yep.
as awesome as Drax is, if they kill him off, then like that kind of sucks for any plans for a sequel. But if they don't
Yep.
kill him off and he sticks around and they make another one, chances are if he hits as well as Drax or any of the like or someone like Rocket Raccoon, so if you have any characters that like nail it like that, like if Weasel is the new Rocket and King Shark is the new Drax, like, yeah, they're not going to kill him off, so they're essentially going to end up inevitably have the Harley Quinn plot armor just because they became so popular in there.
Do
You
you,
know what I mean?
Yeah.
do you think they're gonna draw a lot of comparisons like that though? With like Drax and King Shark. I mean, you've mentioned that and like, Weasel and everything. It sounds almost like if that is the case, they're kind of just trying to copy Marvel, like straight up.
Well, this is the
I
same
don't.
guy who wrote Guardians. Is the only reason
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah,
It's the only
yeah.
reason I'm
I
bringing up
think
that
there's
comparison.
the natural inclination to do that. I think that's going to happen just because, like you said, it's the
It's
same guy that did Guardians. He's doing this one. You've got these, animal-based characters in Weasel and Rocket. You've got these, big muscle-bound brutes in King Shark and Drax. I mean,
Drax.
there's going to be some natural correlation between the characters, but until we see the movie, I don't think it's gonna. But I understand what you're saying, and just in terms of Drax was a nobody character. I mean, nobody
Oh,
cared.
for sure.
The
Yeah.
average moviegoer didn't give two craps about Drax. Like they didn't even know who it was. The average moviegoer is going to hear King Shark and go, "Are you serious? A half man, half shark? Like, how is that going to be
Right.
good?"
Yeah.
But
I am, yeah.
the way he was able to take these virtually unknown and unheard of characters and turn them into household names and beloved characters. I understand where you're coming from that angle. If he's able to do that with these characters, to take these C-list characters and turn them into B or A-list characters that people want to go back and see again. If you kill them off, you can't do that. You can't entice people to come back because
Yeah.
they're dead.
That's what worries me is like it's like given James Gunn's sensibilities with Drax aside, like no one knew who the Guardians of the Galaxy were.
Sure.
I
Like, you
didn't.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like no one knew anything about that stuff. James Gunn comes in, writes some amazing characters with amazing dialogue with great actors, and now everybody knows who the Guardians of the Galaxy are and they love them. And a character like Drax, who really had very little to do in the second movie, like he literally became comic relief. Like
That's
in like
basically all.
Drax
Yeah.
the Destroyer has not destroyed anything. Okay. Like he's like literally the only time he's destroyed anything was in that opening scene of the second one where he's stabbing the thing.
Yeah.
And like that's it. Like he just turned into comic relief. But like that's honestly though, at the same time, it's one of the main reasons I'm looking forward to this movie is because of James Gunn. And like now that I like the him being able to kill everybody, like I said, was always kind of there, like, in some ways, and like 'cause with a lot of these characters, like a huge cast of C and D list characters that no one's gonna care if they die other
No.
than Harley Quinn. But like I'm only worried now about it because I know how good he is at writing and like making characters like just really good and lovable.
Make him pop. Yeah.
Yeah, so now I'm worried that like he's gonna end up killing off like some of these people who are gonna steal the show. I'm just worried about that now, more so than anything. So but the question is, guys, what do you think about this? Are you kind of with us in the same vein that like, yeah, dude, like we get that you'd be able to kill anybody because everyone there is like we don't even know if you look at a picture of half the cast, you probably can't even name what character they are. I mean, aside from Polka Dot Man, really, or Weasel, King Shark, maybe. But you look at the other ones, you're just like you don't even know who they are. You'd have to look at IMDb just to figure it out. So it's like, yeah, you probably could kill him. But then obviously there's no way they're gonna kill someone like Harley Quinn. You know what I mean? So whatever you guys think about this stuff, you just let us know down in the comment section below. All right, everybody. So our final topic here today is going to be our spoiler review. This is your spoiler warning. We're gonna talk spoilers for Mandalorian season 2, episode 1. So check back after you watch it. If you don't care about spoilers, then obviously feel free to listen on. So let's get into it here, guys. I know Rick, you're a huge Star Wars fan, so you have a lot to say about
I got some words.
this. You're very happy that Mandalorian is back.
Oh yeah.
I think we're all very happy Mandalorian is back. We all love Mandalorian.
Yeah.
So-
Who does?
So let's it's my first quick overall thoughts of the episode. I'm just gonna say like I liked it. I thought it was good.
I thought it was great.
Yeah, I thought it was really good.
Very entertaining.
There wasn't really anything I didn't really like dislike from it. The only thing I just right off the top, I'll get into the one thing that I was like right off the bat kind of like rolled my eyes about is that they went back to Tatooine.
Yeah.
Because like
That
I
was,
said
like-
before, that episode on Tatooine was the worst. I'm not gonna say it was my least favorite. It was the worst episode of season 1. Like it was just the worst one. Like,
Yeah.
like hands down. The characters that were involved on Tatooine, I didn't care for, especially the little kid one, the gunslinger kid. Like, I hated that character. It's terrible. Like, no offense to the guy, but it was terrible. Like, and then I didn't really care for the mechanic lady either. She's just so out of place for Star Wars. I feel like it just. I
A
feel
little
like
bit,
when
yeah.
she's on screen, because she makes a return in this episode. That's what I
I
was.
did feel kind of the same way that you
It
did
feels
about
like
her.
once she comes on screen, you're watching a Star Wars skit on Saturday Night Live.
It really does. It feels forced.
Yeah, it seems so out of place. Not that like I don't hate him. She was better in this one than the other one.
Yeah.
But I could
I don't really care for the
100% do
actress.
without her. Yeah, I could do without the character altogether.
Yeah.
Like I honestly would just rather her not be. It just because it doesn't feel like Star Wars when she's on screen.
I thought about that while I was watching that last night. I was like, "Eh." Like, but luckily she doesn't have a lot of screen time or anything. So
No, but I mean, even her dialogue, the way, even like down to the way her lines are delivered in it, it just doesn't feel like Star Wars
So,
at all.
yeah.
And then the only other thing I had with kind of in that same opening scene with the little droids, like the scene where they were talking and they were in the background and they were like messing with the pipe,
Yeah.
looks super fake.
Well, the one thing I
Like
was
it
gonna
just
say
looks so
too
fake.
about that scene, R5, the red and white droid, they like zoomed in on his head and you could see where he had exploded at one time or something like that. There was like this blackness. Is that the same droid that, Luke
Blew
and
up on with Luke.
yeah, like
It may
they're
be.
all about those Easter eggs.
It may very well been. Look, what
Good
speaking
good
of
catch.
Easter
I think
eggs,
that's right.
my favorite part, and this is gonna be jumping forward in time a little bit for at least for the episode, was the Marshal when they get to the scene where they're on the speeder bikes. The dopest thing was when he came rolling on screen, and like I'm assuming you guys noticed that his speeder bike was a pod racer engine, a
It looked
modified
exactly
pod
like
racer.
Anakin's pod racer.
Yeah, it was literally, and I
A
thought that was like
modified.
super cool.
Yeah.
Just like a
Yep.
super nice little, because it's not like they lingered on her. It was just like he comes rolling up on a speeder bike, and it's like, if you know what it is, you're just like, holy shit.
Yeah,
That's what I was
it
like.
is,
I was
yeah.
like, that's a racer engine. Like
One
that's
little complaint about the speeder bike scenes, though, when they're riding on them together and talking to each other, they're just casually talking like this on these loud ass machines
Yeah.
flying through the desert at like how many miles per hour?
I thought the same thing because they were just sitting there. It
Like
was
casually
very,
just conversating.
yeah, it was very green screen sitting in a car, like talking and like, I mean, even they're moving.
Cool if they had like headsets on or something, so that
Yeah,
they
for
were
yelling.
talking. Which is an easy enough thing to do. Like they just throw a helmet on or something, a riding helmet or whatever.
Yeah,
Be an easy enough thing to pull off and make it add some realism to it. That yeah, you lose.
Have them yell
without it.
back and forth, like, not just like
Or
talking
yell,
like at this
yeah.
volume.
yeah. Put a
like we
little
are.
bit more effort into it to show that like they're moving on the speeder bikes. Yeah, they were just, it was just casually here, like, and they didn't even have any sort of like wobbling to it either. Like it
No,
was
it's
just like,
perfectly smooth.
yeah, like this is great. And like, how you doing, Mando? Yeah, like they're talking like this loud when he's like,
Well, think
12
about it
feet
like
away.
if they were riding motorcycles on the highway next to each other, even if you were screaming at each other, you couldn't hear it.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know.
No, I'm with you. I thought the same thing. I was like, that's kind
Nitpicking.
of lame. Like there were a couple scenes in it too, like going back to where, like I'm not like just trying to like shit on it because overall I liked everything in it. Like I just like I'm just getting into the negatives first because once the negatives are out of the way, we can talk about the cool stuff. There were a couple of scenes I was looking at though where like I don't think the CGI was super strong.
I agree.
Like there were some where it looked good, and then the other ones I'm sitting there just like,
Look lower budget.
yeah, it's like I'm like, and I get that it doesn't have to always be perfect, but like at the same time, I don't feel like I really thought about it as much as I did in this episode during last season, like at all. Like I don't know, maybe it just stuck out to me for whatever reason on this one. I don't know what it was, but I just noticed that. I did like though that one thing that I was kind of worried they might do was just because Baby Yoda just popped off and is like so amazing. Everyone loves Baby Yoda. I was worried that they were just gonna like shove Baby Yoda down everyone's face and give Baby Yoda just all the screen time.
They really
like,
didn't.
and they didn't at all. Like he was, it's
Just
still,
kind of a
it was,
background.
yeah, it was the
Background for
Mandalorian
most
show.
of it, yeah.
Yeah, and so that's one thing that like obviously like I'm really like happy that they stuck with, and I mean right from the opening shot though, like it just shows it was just super in tone with Mandalorian, and in keeping with that Western tone, just him walking into the city and like starting this thing, and then
Very Western.
yeah, the Gamorrean fight club or whatever down there, like that was cool. Like another little nitpick I do have, speaking of which, though, is that they keep having all these aliens speaking English all the time.
Perfect English.
Yeah, no, they don't even have accents. Like that dude he's talking to is like a cyclops. He's got one eye, and he just sounds like I do. Just like, hey man, how you doing, Mando? Like
Yeah,
it's
not
like
even like a cool accent.
Mando's out here later in the
Always-
episode speaking Tuscan, and
Jeez.
like
I've always played that off though as in this galaxy, while it's English that we're hearing, there's probably some universal or galaxy known tongue that most species have adopted. In
they
addition to
can't
their
though,
own.
because some ain't like the Tuscan Raiders are in here speaking their own language. Like they constantly disprove that themselves all the
Would-
time by having
not-
some
not-
alien speak alien dialect.
Sure, but those species are they are so entrenched in their own their own culture that they don't adopt. It's kind of like
That's a good point.
it's
I
I
get
hate to say it because it's
I get
the most American thing to say, but it's almost the way that English has become the unofficial language of business over the globe. I mean, most global companies have many people that speak English for some degree.
Mhm.
Even though their culture, Japanese culture, they may speak Japanese most of the time, and then but many business people that are Japanese also speak English because it's become almost and that's kind of the way I anticipate. You're right though. It would be nice to throw an accent in here or there, or throw more captions up, but the ones that don't.
They could do it just how like a lot of like movies like are they do it. If like the character goes over to Russia, they do the first lines in Russia, like in Russian, and then they just ease in like speaking to like American dialect, or American, like
American
or
English,
English
yeah.
dialect. But you know what I mean? Like it's just like start it off with that, and then say, "Do you speak common tongue?" And like,
Yeah.
should we continue? Like, I know they don't have to do it every single time, and it's just a stupid little nitpick. But it's like the opening scene in the season 1 was the same way. You have this like blue alien dude just talking like, "Hey man, what's up?" Like, how you
Yeah.
doing? Like, and then this dude's sitting here with it's a cyclops like
Literally.
alien dude, and it's like he's just talking normal, and it's like he doesn't even have any sort of like
Sounds like your uncle or something.
yeah,
like-
he's literally an alien. So they're insinuating his vocal cords are literally constructed the exact same way as a humanoid.
That's a good way to
is.
look at it.
And it's
Never
like
thought
it's
about
not.
that.
He would sound different in some way, even if he could speak a language. There's
That
no
would
way
actually-
he just sounds like this. Like
That would be awesome if they started messing around with the audio mixes on these things. If they digitally adjusted the actors' lines or voices to give them a more alien feel,
yeah, just
that would be
distort it,
awesome.
like,
Be
But
easy
I
to
think
do.
I think it's hard to. I'm sure it's difficult to come up with a language for
it
alien
is for sure.
species, and for them to do it for a lot of them, I think would be hard. But that would be very cool. Like I am totally. You're turning me around on this whole thing. I think they do
Yeah.
need to have the sound mixers go in and start digitally messing with
The
their
only thing
deliveries
is,
too.
though, with that, sorry, I didn't mean to like cut you.
No, you're good.
Like, if they do that, Star Wars, as you know, they like reuse a lot of the same species. Like, you'll see like the same species later on in the episode or in a different movie and whatnot. They have to have somebody or some way of basically like, that's what this species sounds like. And I mean, they do that with a lot of them, but like with these like English speaking characters and stuff, if you ever see them again and they have a different voice, you have to have somebody that's like, this is how they sound.
That's why if they just
You-
did like a voice modulation thing for some of them, like how Ben
Yeah.
Affleck's Batman, just that he electronically made his voice deeper. You know what I mean? If they just applied a certain distortion to the Cyclops voices, then you could have one that has a Boston accent, but then you have that weird
could do that.
distortion into it, or
Right.
it's like some weird tick that they do specifically. If you don't
Like,
want to develop a whole new language,
look
for
at
it all.
Ray.
Sure.
She speaks with like a British accent, like straight up. Finn is actually a British guy. He speaks with like an American accent. It's like, where did these languages come from? Is there like a planet of British people? Like,
That's my point.
Yeah.
Sir Alec Guinness was his name.
We are getting deep into this, but
yeah. But I mean, they did the same thing with Obi-Wan and Luke.
yeah.
You know what I mean? But anyway, that's just obviously that does not make or break the show.
No.
It's just when I see him on there, then he just starts talking like this. I'm just like, it kind of just takes you out of it a little bit. Like for just a brief second, I was like, you don't expect him just to start talking like this, like, and like no, like grunts or anything was like to kind of indicate that like they're different in some way other than just how he looks. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
just weird. But what did you guys think about Timothy Oliphant's the Marshall character, though?
I thought it was good.
Loved him. I'm a huge Justified fan. I love that series, and to see him come and basically play that role, play Rayland in space, was just so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was definitely like the Marshall Western, like I run this town kind of thing, and he did that well.
Oh, absolutely. What did you think about the whole armor? That was one thing that we got some more like look into like Mandalorian lore as opposed to like how it kind of like works in the show with his character wearing the armor and everything.
Yeah.
Because our Mando was just like armor off, dude.
Yeah, like take that
Like,
off. Yeah.
take it off.
It's like you can't wear those colors around here, man. Like,
Yeah, yeah. Which I thought, I mean, that was kind of cool because one thing too that they do in the show is really great, and I don't know if I've said like on here, but I know I've said it before in some way, but like I've done a very good job of conveying emotion through a
Oh, yeah.
helmet. Like I don't know how they do it, but like because as soon as Timothy Oliphant's character sits down and removes his helmet, you saw that it like visibly disturbed Mando like immediately
Yeah.
just with his
just the way
His
head was
entire
and
body
everything,
language is
Yeah.
just
and like
he's an incredible actor to be able to pull. It's the Bane performance from The Dark Knight Rises, where he's got his entire face covered and he still pulls off a menacing, figure.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
crazy.
Not to take everything back to Batman, which I try and do, but no, there are some roles that, when done right, are just exceptionally well done. When you don't have a way to emote, a way to express what you're feeling through your face, it's just amazing to me that people can pull that off in such a
Yeah.
great way.
No, it's crazy. And that does stuck out to me because like they did like even with like tender moments with like if he's looking at Baby Yoda trying to do something, like somehow this was the way they get them angles in, his body language, like you always are on the same page with him, which is just crazy when you like
Mhm.
actually break it down because like you can't see his
So
eyes.
subtle.
Yeah, you can't see his eyes, you can't see his mouth, you don't know what the hell's going on. And like I don't know, they just do that really well.
Yeah.
What did you guys think about the snake monster thing?
Oh, the crate
The
dragon?
crate dragon.
Great
Yeah.
dragon.
It's a
Yeah.
lot bigger than I thought it would be because
Yeah.
they never really talked about size-wise. Because that noise that Obi-Wan makes in A New Hope to scare off the Sand People, that's like the crate dragon call. And then I didn't really hear that. It's a weird noise that they use too. Like it's really strange.
Mhm.
It was big.
Pretty big.
I,
mean,
I thought it looked awesome. The
Yeah.
special effects with that were superb, in my opinion. To be fair, I don't think there was any point in the show when I watched it that I was taken out by the special effects. But I'm pretty I'm pretty gullible. I'll go along. I mean, even some old 70s special effects still I go along with. They don't pull me out of it when it doesn't look right. But the crate dragon looked awesome. I was hoping we get a shot of it completely above
Yeah.
ground, like that it was going to completely what's the opposite of submerge itself. It was going to completely come out of the
Expose.
ground and expose itself, and we'd see it at some point, which we didn't really get, but we got some really cool shots of it coming
Just
through
a
the
giant
top of
worm.
the top of the mountain, and but it was very cool.
I think that it's like they almost used their entire special effects budget on that.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It's like I think they uh just blew the load on the dragon scenes. Like the only thing I
one
will
way to
say
put
too,
it.
this isn't really like a nitpick or anything, but it was the overall story of that episode was very familiar in the sense that it was the same concept of the season 1 episode with him and Cara
Sanctuary.
Dune. Yeah, Sanctuary with where they fight the ATST.
It's like,
Like,
there's this thing
it's these-
terrorizing these people.
Yeah,
We got to
and-
kill it.
Yeah, they got to go get the people and unite them and take it down. And like,
Doesn't really. It's more of like a quest versus like anything to actually do with the real
yeah,
story.
and
of
I'm
the show.
cool with that.
Like,
Like,
there's little things that
Yeah.
kind of go off and branch off.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same. It was like the same thing. Like, it was the same, and it was different, but the same. Like, in some ways, but I'm fine with like the show being that. Like, I'm cool with the show being essentially like a guy just like doing his thing, like doing a side quest here and there, like in a video game. Like, just
Yeah, that's
he's
what it
just
reminded me of.
yeah, he's just doing his thing. No, it's just like the familiarity was it was kind of on the nose in some ways. Like, it was just literally the same thing in a different setting in some ways. Which is just kind of like, maybe I'm just looking too much into it at that point. But it was just like, I liked it and everything, but I don't know. What I thought was funny as well that obviously this was supposed to be Boba Fett's armor, and that Timothy Olyphant was wearing. He said that he had bought it off some Jawas. So that brings up some speculatory dialogue we could have here. Is we were kind of talking about this off camera too. Is like, how do you think?
They
Because we had the
acquired it.
reveal at the end, where Timur Mortensen sitting there, presumably as Boba Fett, and if on IMDb he is credited as Boba Fett now in that episode. So if IMDb is correct on that, then that was 100% an order Boba Fett. So with his armor, though, like I said, Timothy Olyphant's character, the Marshal, said he bought it off some Jawas. So do you think that perhaps the Krayt Dragon killed the Sarlacc beast, so he was able to escape, and then maybe that's how he survived the Sarlacc pit?
Good idea. I mean,
Maybe.
you
And
think he
then-
just like, he's not a Mandalorian, so he doesn't have that attachment to the armor. Like,
Right.
Boba
The
Fett is
Mandalorian.
not a Mandalorian.
he's not technically. I don't think. I was reading about this the other day. Neither is Jango Fett. They basically, maybe Jango Fett is, but like, there's something where they basically just like adopted the armor. Is what they.
Well, I guess
like.
that would make a lot of sense because Boba was Jango's payment for his role in the Clone Wars, right?
Yeah, they were like,
So-
here's a kid.
So that would make sense that maybe Boba didn't have the
Jango
the
Fett
creed
is a
or whatever.
Mandalorian.
Is he?
Yeah.
Well, but it's like he
Before we
doesn't
do
get
this Google search.
he doesn't have that same attachment to his armor like the Mandalorian has, where it's like helmet doesn't come off or anything.
Well,
like Jango.
That's
it's
true. Jango
Boba
did take
wouldn't.
his helmet off, didn't he?
Yeah, because that's the thing. That's what I was saying with we still really don't know what like their whole free is like this
Could be different
Mandalorian.
tribes of Mandalorians.
Yeah, we don't
like-
really know the whole story on it because even in like Star Wars Rebels, you have tons of Mandalorians on Mandalore take their helmets off.
Oh yeah,
But,
yeah.
like almost all of them do, but for whatever reason, our Mandalorian guy, Din Djarin's like crew of Mandos, they don't take it off for whatever reason. We don't really know why yet.
Is this the way? Like, obviously.
Yeah, I guess. But maybe it just has something to do with them being adopted into it. Like maybe because he was a foundling. Maybe he wasn't like born on Mandalore in that capacity. So like anybody who's a foundling and adopted into Mandalore, or at least this Mandalorian creed, they're not allowed to take the helmet off. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like that's still something that hasn't
Probably.
really been answered in a lot of ways because, like I said, Jango took his helmet off all the time. Like it's tons of other Mandalorians like, on screen and animated shows take their helmets off all the time. So I don't know about the helmet thing. Like,
Mhm.
but if Boba survived the Sarlacc pit in some way, I could also see because we've been referred to like in the show. It's been teased that there was some like kind of cataclysmic event that happened either on Mandalore or something happened that
The Purge, I
Yeah,
think
the-
they referred to.
yeah, like so like there's the Mandalorians have been dispersed throughout the galaxy and like separated and divided in some way. So he could have gotten rid of the armor, sold it to the Jawas to lay low because you got to think he got eaten. Boba got eaten by the Sarlacc. Last we saw him, got beat by blind Han Solo.
Yeah, thanks to Blind Han Solo.
Yeah. So he got beat. He's in the Sarlacc pit. Somehow he gets out of the Sarlacc pit, and like at this time, like the Empire is essentially fallen. He was a mercenary, bounty hunter, whatever you want to call him, who worked for the Empire. And like that was last we saw him. He was working for Vader. So and the Hutts to some degree, I guess too. So I mean,
Yeah.
but they're all working for the Empire. So at this point in time, the Empire is fallen, and it probably would behoove him to get rid of that armor, and especially if he's in a place now where like maybe he was severely wounded after that too, and
He
couldn't be
looked pretty
going out.
messed up.
Yeah, he has scars on his face at the end of the episode and everything.
He
So,
looked like Freddy Krueger almost. Like it was.
yeah. So I mean, I could see him like wanting to lay low and just literally sold off his armor to the Jawas just to like kind of get by, because like he wasn't gonna do that anymore.
He looked like a
anyway.
scavenger too.
yeah.
Like he had like a gaffy stick, like the sand people
Mhm.
stick hanging off his back, and
Yeah. Then
So
he had like a long rifle that I think Mando had in season 1 at one
yeah,
point.
the disintegration rifle he uses.
Yeah,
Yeah.
something.
yeah.
So I think all those are completely viable scenarios. I'm curious if whatever it took to survive the Sarlacc pit, if he didn't come out of it injured in some way, and the Jawas found him and assumed he was dead and scavenged his armor off of him, and that's how they came into possession of it. And then he wasn't quite dead, and somebody else found him and nursed him back to health, or he came to after having gotten out of the Sarlacc pit. The Jawas had come by and scavenged his body and left him for dead, and he somehow came to without his armor and has been, forced to kind of build himself up from scratch.
Right. Well, that's the thing. Like, how? I guess do we know how long it's been since those events at this point in time?
Based on the official timeline that we were talking about off screen, I believe Return of the Jedi is 4 years after the Battle of Yavin, and the Mandalorian show is set 10 years after the Battle of Yavin. So you're talking about a 6-year time gap between Return of the Jedi when he goes into the Sarlacc pit and then now. So,
Yeah.
and maybe 4, you're talking about 6, maybe 5 if you take the past, if you take the beginning of the Mandalorian. So like if the season 1 of the Mandalorian is a year-long time, maybe that time is even more condensed.
Well, I guess we don't know how long he was in that pit for.
Yeah.
Yeah, he could have just burst. Like they could say he just shot his way right out of there.
Yeah, like no problem. I mean,
Like-
he had a jetpack
Yeah. So I mean,
or a phoenix, whatever they call it.
who knows? I don't know. I would imagine
there-
like
Was a version of how he got out
There is.
in the old universe, right before Disney bought it.
Like he shot himself out.
He shot, yeah. But I think when Disney bought it, they took all that EU extended universe stuff and said it wasn't canon anymore. So I think it's kind of still up in the air as to how he
Guess we're
officially.
gonna find out.
Yeah, I guess. So,
yeah, we
hopefully.
might find out. Because I imagine that's the thing. As obviously, I don't think this is going to be the last time we see Boba Fett, because I mean we only got one little tease of him at the end, and the whole point of like it was kind of set up, at least for this episode, was him being in search for a Mandalorian to like kind of help further guide him, and like they kind of set it up to where like inevitably that's the one he's gonna find, being Boba Fett.
I don't think it's gonna
Because-
work out how he thinks it would. It could.
I don't know. It's
So,
probably been a
Bo-
long time since Boba's seen another Mandalorian too, so he might actually be kind of like,
Like, bruh.
yeah, like what's up?
But
dude?
Boba being so tied to Django, and Django being so tied to the Empire and the rise of the Empire, and all the stuff, all the machinations that Palpatine was doing behind the scenes, that would be a great way to explain how, of all the Mandalorians to find, Boba you think would be the one that maybe had the best chance at knowing where Yoda's race comes from, where Baby
True.
Yoda belongs, who to take him back to, or at least have the keys that Mando needs to find that out. So
The connections, yeah.
I like the tie-in to that history and that character's backstory as far as where they're going with this story.
He definitely would be someone who'd be able to. He knows about Jedi. I mean, he was there and
He's seen them.
Yeah,
and
he's seen them in his
Sith and
yeah, like he saw his dad's head get cut off. So
by a Jedi.
by a Jedi.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's
They're not just
definitely
sorcerers to him.
Thank
Yeah.
you, Mace Windu.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, it definitely would make because I mean, Mandalorian or our Mando it referred to them as enemy sorcerers.
Yeah.
So Boba would be someone who would
Like,
probably
nah.
reinforce that statement. Like
Yeah.
they killed his, they cut my dad's head off.
He's kind of got a
Not to-
vendetta against him.
Not to go off on a tangent here, but we're talking about this Star Wars timeline it bugs me when we come up with against stuff like this because the Jedi are referred to as these kind of mystical unknown.
Oh,
like,
I know.
Like we don't even know who Jedi are, but yet the official timeline for Star Wars has the Jedi Empire and the Council of Jedi. They were only taken out by the Empire like 30 years previously. Jedi were all over the star system, all over the galaxy. They were the guardians of the galaxy for millennia, and they were only taken out 30 years ago, and yet the Mandalorians don't know who they are. Common people don't know who Jedi are.
There's not like a history of them.
That's something that's
Very-
always bothered me with the show.
Very
with Star Wars.
odd,
Yeah.
very odd tact or very odd story element that they're playing out with this the Jedi being these mystical kind of unknown beings.
Yeah, like a myth almost.
Yeah. They make them out to be some weird like mythological creatures that like no one's ever seen. But like with how they were all set up in the prequels, even like how does everybody not know who they are? Like
There's tons of them.
There's a whole army of them. The Republic went to them for counsel. Like literally, there was the Jedi Council, and they like literally counseled the Republic.
They led all the forces in the Clone Wars. They were, I just
like the deep state of the Republic.
Yeah, and there's been like there. I guess they said at one point, like, and I think in canon in some form, like when Sidious became the Emperor and all this stuff, like he went and like tried to remove all sorts of like Jedi texts and like try to erase them from that. That's been their
point.
That's been their canon for how no one knows who they are. Is like he went and, but there's still people alive who experienced all that. Like so, like
sure.
the fact that someone like Din Djarin's age, for instance, who isn't that much younger than Boba Fett, like in all reality,
got to be in his like late 30s. Maybe,
yeah,
at most.
Boba Fett's like 41, 42, like. He was alive for all that. He would have seen it all happen. Like
not one other person has told him like there's these guys with like light swords and
it doesn't make any sense because if the Empire only lasted 23 years based on canon, right? Let's take canon timeline. If Din Djarin is like 30 years old, he lived at a time when there was no Empire.
Yeah.
Which kind of throws that whole timeline through a loop because when he was a little kid, he was saved by the other Mandalorians, like presumably because the Empire was invading. So he would have had to have been, if he's like 30, he would have had to have been. I guess maybe he was 7 then.
7 or 8.
I guess he was like young, and I guess it was young enough to where maybe that would work out. I guess.
Yeah.
But like. He would definitely know. He would have to know what's going on with these. Like same with like everybody else who's alive there. It's always bothered.
I don't think about it that much when I'm actually watching the show, so it doesn't bug me.
It doesn't.
When we start talking about these specifics and you raise these points, and then it's like, wait a minute, come on now, guys. But I'll go with them. I'll go with them. Maybe the Jedi weren't as well known as we are. Maybe it's a recency bias or because we're following the story of the Jedi, they seem more well known than they actually were. Who knows?
Well, I don't know, because I mean, when Luke gets the lightsaber from Obi-Wan and everything, and he's like, "Oh, you fought in the Clone Wars?" Like people knew about everything that happened, and like when we saw the Clone Wars, everyone knew about Jedi. Like, because it's like the whole Jedi Council was there and led the Republic Army and everything. So, like, you can't just wipe that out from people's minds. Like, I'm sorry, like they effed that stuff up. Like the whole them just not knowing what Jedi are. Like, I mean, maybe you blame it on the prequels for introducing too many Jedi,
There were a
because when
lot.
it was just like they could have at one point been like some mystical thing that maybe there's only a few of them, but like it is already established that there was a whole army of Jedi. Like we saw
Oh,
them. Like, so yeah, that's definitely something that's always bothered me. I'm right there with you. Where do you think? Where do you think this is the last time we'll see the Marshal though? You think he's gonna make another appearance later on? Oh yeah, before I forget to, another person who would be good with that, because we got Ahsoka Tano making an appearance at some point. She's gonna
yeah.
be in one episode in this. So with Boba being able to bring in, they're both gonna have very different opinions and be able to give Mando very different information on these enemy sorcerers. You know, because like yeah, I think Boba Fett's looking at the Jedi as like people, and maybe he's not
You
an
killed my
idiot, and
dad.
yeah, like maybe he's not an idiot though, and understands like, well, the Empire really was a bunch of like scummy dirtbag people, and like 'cause maybe he's a little bit self aware that like the things that he was doing wasn't always good stuff,
Oh yeah, I'm sure he's got
like to some degree. So maybe he would be there to like not. I don't know. I think it'd be kind of like a disservice to the character to have him just be like, yeah, the Jedi are bad, bunch of shitheads, like
he's had
whatever.
a lot of time to think.
Yeah, and like he was there. Like, yeah, Jedi killed his dad, but it's like you grew up with like Darth Vader and all this stuff and became a bounty hunter, and you can't sit here and say that like the Jedi were the bad guys. Like, what I mean? I feel like that's kind of it makes the character seem kind of stupid if they went that route. Like, I don't know what they're gonna do with that, but obviously he is gonna have a very different interpretation of the Jedi and everything
Over Ahsoka Tano.
over Ahsoka Tano, which could like lead to some interesting things. So, and I don't think it's going to be the last time we see the Marshal, but like I don't know where else he would fit in. So
It could be in season 3 for all we know. Like,
Well, they clearly like revisiting Tatooine,
yeah,
so
yeah.
and who knows, he may have to go off planet at some point too for some reason. So there are lots of characters. The prisoners that were left behind after in season 1. There are lots of characters that they've you know scattered throughout this series so far that I'm sure will have a spot later on if they need them.
yeah. And another thing too, I was kind of shocked because you were mentioning this off camera a little bit. No, not even uh, a sentence or reference at all to um, Gus
Moff
Frank,
Gideon,
yeah,
Moff
Moff
Gideon.
Gideon, and the Dark
Yeah.
Saber. Like they just picked up on a new quest line for Mando, and like they weren't even talking about that stuff or doing anything, which I thought was
Yeah.
kind of interesting. That
You
I
think he'd even
figured,
mention just like I'm running from this guy at this point? Like,
yeah, or if they
Well,
would
he
have had
thinks
a
he's dead,
scene
I
like
think.
oh yeah, he
he
does.
does,
True.
When he took his tie down at the end of season 1, I don't think they expected him to be coming back from that.
right? Yes, I don't think they know anything about the Dark Saber or anything like that, but I was more or less surprised that they didn't have like any sort of scene for us, the viewer, like
Sure.
showing more of that.
Like
In any way.
what is he doing now? Because that was clearly established as the kind of the behind the scenes enemy. Well, he wasn't even behind the scenes, but that was clearly set up as that's the person that's going to be chasing him as during this
Mhm.
journey to get Baby Yo back to where he belongs. And so yeah, to not even reference him or show him was a little strange.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. That
I
was. I mean, I guess it's fine though. We'll learn more about it, but it was surprising because this was like an hour-long episode too,
Yeah, it was.
and like they didn't have anything referencing it at all.
Well, like I was telling you when we were talking about off camera, Star Wars has this thing about like making you wait just a little bit longer for what you really want to see. And I came back to the Force Awakens, just waiting for Luke Skywalker to show up, and he shows up at the end of the movie. Just turn around and look at the camera, and that's it. I had to wait another
Yeah.
2 years, 3 years for the Last Jedi to get Luke Skywalker and see him actually in action.
And then you
It's just
still
kinda
didn't get him.
and
Yeah.
you still didn't. I don't want to talk about
I'm
that
still waiting.
Yeah.
yeah, I don't really. But this
Obviously.
this felt like the same thing. Like, oh, I'm waiting for Moff Gideon. I'm waiting for the dark saber. Let's see where they go with all this, and then you get the first episode. It's like, yeah, you're gonna wait a little bit more.
Which
So
is
Yeah.
why I think it's a good idea they haven't marketed Ahsoka Tano. Because
Yep.
she's only going to be in one episode, I know. And if they would have showed her in a trailer, like that's all anybody, because there's a ton of people who are big fans of that character and everything, and like that's all anybody would be waiting for.
Yeah.
Like, but
Well, eventually he runs into what? Sabine Wren?
well, no, I think I read too that her character, who we assumed were going to be playing Sabine Wren because she was the WWE actress, I can't remember who. Most people were speculating that she was going to be Sabine Wren, and apparently it was confirmed that she's not playing. So I don't know, because like people just assumed it was because Sabine's a girl character, and where Rebels left off, Sabine and Ahsoka like they know each other, so it's like, oh, that's probably what they're gonna do. Like it made sense, but I guess that might not be the case.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Possible.
We'll just have to wait and see, though. I have no idea. So because that's another character that would actually be good for Mando to run into, because she would be able to bring a whole other light of a different take on Mandalorians.
Yeah,
that
definitely.
he's ever seen. Like, really. So I don't know. I'm definitely excited to see where they go.
They are they're subverting expectations at most of the turns for me. I mean, like I would have expected, as popular as Gina Carano's character was, that she would be, kind of a main player. They it would be her. They would have teamed her up with Mando to return him, so that she would be on every episode. And they're playing it kind of sparingly with her, and the same with Carl Weathers' character. They're playing it sparingly with him, and Ahsoka Tano, they're going to keep, kind of in the background. And I think it serves the story well. I think you could really lose the story to the other I can't say that word. The other
Ancillary.
ancillary characters. Thank you. I think you could lose the story to them like you could to Baby Yoda, and they're doing an excellent job of keeping it on Mando and the story of this
Yeah.
main character.
Yeah, that's what like I said with the. I was worried about them like losing sight of that, like especially
Mhm.
when we find out, oh, they're gonna bring in Ahsoka Tano, and they're doing this, and then Baby Yoda's all big now.
Yeah.
They're gonna give Baby Yoda all this like.
I was glad they didn't.
Yeah, I'm glad. I hope they are consistent with that.
He's almost
because-
kind of comedic relief in a way. Like whenever you see him, it's just like, oh, look at that funny little thing he's doing in the background. You know?
Oh yeah,
My
he is
favorite
absolutely.
my favorite part of the whole episode, and they spoiled it in the trailer for the series, for season 2, but it still got me when they did it, is when he has all the guns trained on him in the fight
Oh,
club
yeah.
there, and he powers up the I can't remember what they're
Whistling
called, the little
birds?
darts, the whistling birds. Thank
Yeah,
you. He
whatever,
powers
yeah.
up the whistling, and Baby Yoda just reaches over the side
Yeah,
and
he's just like,
Yeah.
taps his closed, and
Yeah.
yep,
That's good.
such a
That
good
was good.
scene.
And then there was another one when right after that, like during the fight, he just stands up and then kicks him, like kicks the cradle thing
Kicks
back
him.
out of the
Yeah, he's
way.
like, "Get out
I
of the
thought
way."
that was good, because that was one thing too. Like it looks like he's not as like, I don't know, like tender with him. Like he knows that Baby Yoda can keep his own. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he's
Yeah.
seen what he can do.
He's not
Like,
treating it like a newborn baby.
yeah, like which is cool, because like he obviously can handle himself to some degree. So it's like,
He's like, save their ass.
yeah, he's not just like holding him like constantly the whole time, like, just like stay away. Like he's just like, you want to mess with the kid, that's fine. He's gonna fuck you up. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
like,
He may be a baby, but like he knows
Yeah.
what he's doing.
yeah.
Or
It's
she.
like
Could be a she.
he's saved him like twice now. The fire, and then with the
The Mudhorn.
Mudhorn. Like
Yep.
he's showcased he's got some skills, like for sure. So he's definitely not coddling him
But
anymore.
absolutely adorable at the same time.
Oh yeah. Still protect him at all costs, because he's too goddamn adorable.
Right?
Because that was also
Uh.
cool. I guess the last thing that I really have that just popped into my head that I can really think of was I liked that right after that scene with the Cyclops guy, like they just reiterated the fact that like Mando is not someone you want to mess with either, because he hangs him up on that pole and he's walking away, and then he shoots out the light. But he didn't kill him, but
such a cool scene that they set up early in the episode. I didn't even pick up on that. When they were walking through, the light was what was keeping the creatures at bay as they're walking into town or whatever, and they're walking underneath all those lamps, and that's what you can see all the eyes in the background, and you're like, "Oh wow, there's some creepy characters, some creepy creatures back there."
Yeah.
And it wasn't until that final shot when he shoots the light out, you're like, "Oh,
Just-
so it's not more than that.
You
They
won't die by
can't
my
go into
hand.
the light." And
Right.
that was so cool.
Yeah. Which
That
is
was
just again shows that Mando ain't someone to mess with. Like he's
Yeah.
still like he'll kill you. He's a
He's
mercenary.
ruthless.
He's
Yeah.
a bounty hunter. Don't get in his way. Like that
I
was
think
cool.
we find out slowly though that we got a heart of gold.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He definitely does. I mean, that's kind of like the whole Mandalorian thing, though. There's these like they're a bunch of like hard ass dudes, but like don't mess with their family. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because at this point now, little yo, he's his crew, man. It's his little dude now.
The squad,
Like,
yeah.
He's his dad. It's that is the way. He's
Yeah.
He's the
the
father.
armorer told him, until you get him back to his people or until he comes of age, you're his father. And
Yep.
so,
His responsibility.
I have a feeling it's going to be a while until he comes of age.
Yeah, I don't know
Yeah,
what they're gonna
and
do timeline wise with his youth and his aging. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Still looking out for that. Is there anything else you guys stuck out to you guys, negative, positive, or anything?
We're ready for episode 2.
Me too.
Yeah, do we know how long this season is? Is it 8 episodes again, or did they expand this one?
I don't know if they
Hopefully it's more.
confirmed. I can look it up real quick.
But I hope it is, and I hope it is on the same. Like I like what they're doing with the stories. I don't want it to. I want them to keep these stories tight and well told. I don't want them to try and just expand it just for the sake of expanding it and have the stories become
8.
I don't know. Is it 8 again?
Yep.
Okay, good.
December 18th is the last episode.
Okay.
So.
I like that they expanded the runtime of the shows a little bit more. We're getting more towards that hour mark than the
I
half
heard
hour
that
mark.
it
like
was just
51
this
minutes.
one. I don't
Is
know
it?
if I heard that like this for whatever reason. I don't know if it's 100% true, but it was like promoted somewhere that like Mandalorian returns with like a 1 hour special episode.
I can see that.
So I don't know if like just this one is, or if maybe they'll all be a little bit long. Because I really enjoyed it being a little bit longer. Some of the other ones, man, it was just they were real quick.
Blink
It's
and
like
it's
you blink,
over.
yeah, exactly. You blink, it's like watching an anime show. Like once you get rid of the cartoons, once you get rid of the commercials, you're looking at like 20 minutes of content,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
like that 20 minutes goes by quick. Like when you're
Yeah.
watching something that has like a lot of like action and drama, it's just like it's over before you. Kind of like Quibi and how it failed. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
it's the
true.
same concept. Like, so yeah, I'm glad they're sticking to 8. I do hope that they're like I thought 45 minutes is good. I'm good with if they can keep it 45 minutes. I'm good with that.
Sure.
So
I'm really curious. I'm curious where they go with this season because obviously you've got the questions about Moff Gideon and the Darksaber. They're out there in the periphery waiting to be addressed. Now you've introduced Boba Fett. We know Ahsoka is coming into the show at some point, so they're throwing a lot more balls in the air, and I'm not sure how they're going to juggle them all. and
Yeah,
obviously we
point.
want to see Gina Carano and Carl Weathers' character back at some point. So I'm really curious where they're going to take this all. They've done an excellent job so far, so I have complete faith that it'll continue it. But I'm also fine just the slow burn, keeping these seasons to 8 episodes, and have it run for a few years here.
Yeah.
Oh
that'd be
yeah, I
great.
definitely I hope they definitely find ways to to introduce some because this is obviously Star Wars. Like this could go on for like ever, because Star Wars is like always going to be beloved and popular. So as long as the show's good and people are watching consistently, I don't think it's really going to go anywhere anytime soon. So I mean, I hope that in some ways they maybe weave in some like some things that could lead to some future like bigger stories. You know what I mean? Because like right now, like we said, like a lot of the episodes are just like these individual side quests that kind of like he does and like goes on, and like we got kind of like teased and were presented with the big meat of the story at the end of season 1 was going to be the Moff Gideon stuff more so than anything. But we don't really. We've had like 1.5 episodes with Moff Gideon. We don't really know what their whole thing is. Like, so the only two like kind of main plot lines we really have at this point is the Moff Gideon stuff and then Baby Yoda. So I don't know. That feels like something that you would have to wrap up relatively quickly, or it's just going to be dragged out for like kind of too long. Like,
Sure.
so I don't want it to get.
You don't
like,
want people to lose interest and be like,
Yeah.
okay, you're just never going to address it then.
Yeah. So I
Cool.
hope they just keep moving that stuff on. I don't want them to like every season ends with like, oh, we didn't make it, and then the next season is just
Yeah.
like picking up the same story and they're just dragged out over. And like I want them
that
to
could get old kind of quick.
I want them
Well-
to bring it to a good conclusion, move on to something else.
Was your big meat comment a veiled reference to the crate dragon and the sand people harvesting the meat from the crate dragon?
That egg thing they pull out of it
Mine?
or whatever.
They pulled out that. Yeah, you said the big meat of the episode was.
Oh no, that was not
That was the big
No,
meat.
That was the big meat.
Hey, he
of the
drives away.
actual
It looks like
episode.
he's got a giant filet mignon. He's
Yeah.
putting on the back of a speeder bike and covers it with
Yeah.
a blanket.
Yeah.
It literally looked like a giant filet mignon.
Yeah. No.
But
Oh man, they were gonna eat well, I guess, that night.
Yeah.
Hey, okay, so here's something I've been kind of in the back of my own head debating. Who's the more popular Mandalorian now in the Star Wars lore? Is it Boba Fett, who was for years, or is it now Din Djarin? Is it has the Mando replaced
that's debatable.
Boba
I think.
as the Mandalorian for the Star Wars saga universe?
It's debatable.
Or is the dark horse Django the winner? I wouldn't put Django in the same ballpark, but
I would say the dark horse would be like Sabine Wren. Because like,
okay.
there's a lot of people who like Sabine Wren. I think Sabine Wren as a character has been a lot. She's had more to do though. I'll give her that. She's been around a little bit longer than Jin. I like, as far as aesthetically, the Mandalorian Din Djarin looks way cooler than Boba Fett
Yeah,
does.
Boba Fett's kind of like Ratchet.
Yeah, like, and Boba Fett, I've said time and time again, he was the most overrated character in Star Wars ever. Like,
Din
he looked
Djarin's
cool
showing
and
that he's
he was-
actually
huh?
he's showing that he's like actually pretty badass.
Maybe. Jin, yeah.
Yeah, Jin.
Like,
not
Yeah.
Boba Fett.
Yeah. Boba Fett was like,
He
he
didn't
had
really live
no
up to the
screen
hype.
time. He got beat by a blind guy. He just looked. People liked him because he was the only Mandalorian they'd ever seen. Like, his armor looked cool. That's why
And
people
he had
liked
a jetpack and like
Yeah.
he and he had the whole he was the one that caught them. He was the one that was responsible for them being caught on Cloud City. He tracked them to Cloud City, made the deal to get Han and bring Vader in and hand over Luke and Leia. So
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he never really did much. Like, we've seen our Mandalorian guy do a lot more stuff.
Yeah.
Din Djarin. So like, I think he's probably, like, in my opinion, he's a cooler character than Boba
Oh,
Fett
yeah,
is.
yeah.
Like, at least at this point in time, and he has
Yeah,
the
I was-
added benefit of having Baby Yoda by his side. So,
exactly. Well, yeah, right there he's got that bump that I was surprised because when I thought about that question myself the other day when I was doing my rewatch, I thought, God, I think I like our Mandalorian more than I like Din Djarin more than I like Boba Fett. If you had told my 10-year-old self that there'd one day be another Mandalorian that I liked better, I would have been like, you're crazy.
Yeah.
Boba
for sure,
Fett's
right.
Boba Fett's the man. Boba Fett's awesome. Nobody's ever going to be cooler than Boba Fett. And here
right.
we are.
I was never like on a big fan of Boba Fett just because like I never saw him. He just never did anything. Like, people hyped him up.
But he
It's
was
the look.
he was mysterious and he had such a cool look and that jetpack was
I
so
agree.
cool and
Yeah,
and he
100%.
wasn't he was just a cool, like, you didn't know anything about him, you didn't see his face, all the mystery about him made him
Yeah.
cooler, I think, than maybe the reality of him was.
Yeah, the mystique of him was definitely like what
Yes,
made him
definitely.
cool,
Yeah.
for sure.
For sure.
That's why, like, I think now, at least where we are now, without knowing what he's been up to in these last 6 years, our guy's just done more stuff, and like I feel like as a viewer, he's definitely showcased more talent. Like Rick was saying, like he's a cooler dude. as of right now. Boba Fett, too mysterious. You never know. And he got beat by a blind guy, and I'll never let him live that down.
Knocked over, yeah.
Yeah, never gonna let him live that down. And I'm sorry too, but it always, I'll tell you what, just before we wrap it up, the thing that always bummed me out about Boba Fett was when you found out he was just a clone too. Like,
Yeah, it wasn't some
that
crazy
really
alien or-
lowered down how, like, because you lost the mystique at that point, because you were always wondering, like, what's he look like under there? What's, this, and then you find out in the Clone Wars, and you're just like, it, like,
Yeah.
he's just that kid.
Yeah.
That's it. Like,
Yeah.
that always kind of, like, I don't know, that kind of ruined it for me in a lot of ways too. Like, it just kind of, it opened the veil, right? The mystique was lifted, and you're just like, oh, it's just
Yeah.
a little kid. But that about covers it.
But
for
to
me,
be fair,
guys.
that all that led to this series. So in the long run, it was all worth it, I think.
Well, I mean, I think the fact that he became as popular as a character that he is led to just the more Mandalorian lore coming up, because they've done a lot of cool shit with Mandalorian. Like, Darth Maul had the whole Mandalore thing where he took over Mandalore and, like, was ruling over it, and, like, all that shit's cool. They got the lore with the Darksaber, like, all that stuff came way after Boba Fett, and if Boba Fett
Yeah.
wasn't as cool as he was, like, they would never expanded that lore out. So you gotta give him credit for that, I guess. So, but I don't know. I give credit to costume designers more so than anything, I guess, on that
Yeah.
at that point. So, did you guys got anything else you want to add?
No,
think I'm
I think
covered
we
with
covered it.
All right.
Looking forward to episode 2.
Yeah, for
Definitely.
sure.
Are we
episode
going to
2.
get a teaser trailer for 2? Was there a teaser at the end? I didn't stick around through the credits. Is there a teaser out there for episode 2?
I don't know.
I feel like I
look.
thought there was, but I don't really know.
Okay. I'll have to look that
Uh,
up maybe after.
I'll have to look it up. But we'll probably
Because I
do-
thought last season they were doing teaser trailers at the end of the episodes, but maybe I'm misremembering that.
I don't remember. It's been a
Yeah.
while. It's been like a year.
Yeah,
I don't remember
sure.
seeing it at the end. I don't remember seeing one. I don't think about it.
Okay.
But anyways, that'll do it for us, guys. That was our spoiler review or spoiler discussion of Mandalorian season 2, episode 1. We're all on the same page. We all loved it, and we're all looking forward to seeing more. Obviously, don't forget. Well, actually, before that, probably will just do spoiler reviews at the end of each week's episodes. Ongoing until whatever the last date was for December 18th. We'll probably keep doing these. Assuming they're good, we'll keep going. Like, 'cause, I mean, I don't know. I bet there'll probably be more that we could talk about if there's a really bad episode though, at the same time. So I don't know. We'll see. But we're definitely going to keep doing these spoiler discussions with Mandalorian season 2. Don't forget, you can submit topics and questions to the show by emailing us at honestanduneducated@gmail.com. That's honestanduneducated@gmail.com. Be sure to stay tuned. We'll probably do some more live streaming here at some point. Please get some gameplay stuff doing. I don't know. Got a lot. It's been a busy week, so but we'll see where we go on that. Rick, where can everybody find you online as we sign off here?
Follow me on Instagram, Sir Rick Metz.
John, how about you? Where can everybody find you at? And little baby
I'm over at Nightwing_J on the Twitters. Baby Yoda. doing
Baby
her
Yoda's
thing.
waving by. Now you can find me just simply at Sir Rob Bifo on all platforms. It should be that same handle. So there it is. There it is, boys. I don't got anything else after that though. So thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. All that sorts of fun and good stuff. And until next time, take care.